Welcome to So You're Kinda a Big Deal, a weekly podcast deep diving into the lives of emerging and established tattoo artists. Listen in as we dig into origin stories, industry hot topics, and what it takes to survive in the world of tattooing. This is Tattoo Shop Talk. Join your hosts Shawn, Hedley, and Dave Allen every week as we host a new guest.
It's no secret Dave and I have a good guy connection, but we have a great relationship with many respected suppliers. Working with Lucas Ford at Classic Tattoo, I saw firsthand the blood, sweat, and stress he went through building Good Guy. Creating products for your peers is no easy task. With many to critique any small missteps, including myself, tattooer owned and family operated since day one. With Lucas, Rob, and Natalie at the helm, you know exactly what you are getting. High quality products, fair prices, and excellent customer service. Shop, support, Good Guy.
The Holdfast Social Club keeps expanding and adding features to make the life of tattooers easier. We just launched a classified section for pros only. Sell your tattoo gear, prints, whatever, in one spot. This is on top of a platform with peer-to-peer vouching, direct connect, a wait list, and geo-searching. Now you can find guest spots or forever homes at studios everywhere. No guessing, no awkward conversations. See what shops or artists have to offer. Mark them as favorites or add yourself to their wait list to let them know you are interested. Holdfast Social Club keeps adding features to make connecting easy. Pros only, a place where the best of us can elevate each other.
Things that you guys could call me rude, but no, whatever. Hey, and you're
No picture.
no picture. Turn your camera on.
God. Settings.
You're making us look good. Because we're usually the clowns on here. Oh, no audio.
Well,
there you go. Audio's on now.
Okay, well, I have no. Come on, you guys.
Let's turn mine off too.
Killing me.
Well, we'll just all turn our cameras off.
I don't know how to turn the camera on.
It should be down. There should be like a small little like thing along the bottom that'll say like mute or camera off, kind of in
that's
there.
what I'm clicking on.
Oh, interesting.
Do you have something over the lens? Because when you turn it on, I can actually see some light. So it's actually the camera's working. It's just like maybe something's blocking it.
Oh,
no.
It's pitch black on my side, so I don't know.
I'm in settings. Cecelia iPhone. What the hell? It says it's on my iPhone? What the fuck is going on? Can you hear me though?
Oh, we can hear you.
It's highly entertaining.
I don't even get this anymore.
Oh, yes. Cecelia making the old white dudes look good.
Yep.
Oh, I'm so old. So old. Sorry, guys.
Oh, it's okay.
Open in systems. Honey! I don't even know. Seriously. I don't even know how to do this. I'm so frustrated.
Where's your phone?
Yeah.
Where's your phone right now?
Oh, there it is. There you are. Hi.
It's fucked up. I'm on my laptop and I cannot. Oh, there's my husband. Look. My phone's not on.
You're on your laptop and your phone at the same time?
Yeah, so if you have a Mac, I know that the Mac can choose your phone as your camera rather than the FaceTime camera.
Yep. That's
Perfect.
what it is.
That's crazy.
So I am going to send you a picture of this setup right now. So,
nice.
With my iPad.
I love it.
So embarrassed. I'm so sweaty and so pissed off right now.
This is amazing.
And I really hope you're recording because this is.
I am recording, and you are literally no different than every other tattooer that we have ever started with. Just that you're the first person that we're gonna shame with this footage.
Okay. So, I I'm gonna keep this. I'm gonna send this picture just so you could see actually the setup. It's
Perfect.
All right, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay,
Text it to me. Hi.
Yeah.
Oh my
I
god.
believe.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. So yeah. Oh, so just quickly. So last time I saw you, 1997, San Francisco.
97, San Francisco. We were. Can I take these out, or can you? Nah, fuck it.
Leave, man, don't fuck with it. It's all working right now.
We got it. Yeah. So last time was 97 in San Francisco at the Crazy Hotel.
Yeah.
And you were at the New York Convention.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's as much as we covered.
Cool.
Hi.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So when was the last time, Dave, you saw Cecelia?
I've only met you one time, and that was at Seventh Son when we were filming a documentary. I was about to say we had a crew in there, but there was just two of us, and we met in passing, super quick.
Was that at Steveston?
No, Seventh Son in San Francisco.
Was it really? Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I met you at Steveston. I used to hang out there a lot, but
Yeah.
yeah. Crazy.
Well, when you called you and Jody a crew, it kind of is. You guys take up as much room as a crew. So
Oh, fuck. Jody's a big dude. He makes me look small.
yeah.
I'm trying to even remember that. Like, what year was that? Were we in the really big shop on Langton Street?
I believe so, yeah. And it was during it was a convention week. Trevor was there. That's who we were interviewing. I can't remember who else was there, but yeah, it was awesome.
What Trevor?
Next day.
Trevor from Australia.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You remember we just interviewed him like a couple of weeks ago?
No.
We did?
Yeah, we did another interview with him. We did for the podcast this time, yeah.
Yeah, he
so
talked
cool.
shit for 2 hours.
Yeah, good.
That was awesome.
Good.
He told me how much he loves my face tattoos.
Thumbs up.
He's like the tattoo uncle to everyone from our generation.
Totally.
Yeah, it was awesome. We actually had an audience at the shop while we were recording it, and he's just busting everybody's balls. Like, kept making fun of Dave C, James Tax. It was great.
Yeah, amazing.
It was great. So,
That's
anyway,
rad.
Cecelia, it's so good to see you because it's been
good to see you
forever.
Yeah.
And let's just start because I kind of know your start, but let's start at your start in Vancouver.
Starting what it started. So, I mean, the real start is that I grew up around Hell's Angels. So tattooing and motorcycling went together for me, and I was friends with Adam Sky forever. So when
No, I'm kidding.
No, we love Adam.
I love Adam Sky.
Yeah. So then I was one of I think I was like the very first person who worked at Sacred Heart with him, the original one on 4th. And yeah, that's where I really started.
Oh, did you start at Sacred Heart?
Yeah.
I thought you started. Yeah. Oh, crazy! I thought you started on Granville at
Anarchy.
At Anarchy Inc.
Yeah, Anarchy. Yeah.
No, I did my first couple of tattoos at Sacred Heart.
Oh,
crazy!
Wow.
Yeah,
that would have been like when Kylie was like the counter girl, like pre-Blair.
Pre-Blair. So the very first shop manager was Michael.
Yeah.
Sangha.
Who
went out with Kylie. Yeah.
So
I replaced him.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. See, I didn't know that part about you because when I met you, you were at Anarchy, right?
Yeah.
You were at Anarchy, and we went and saw the Crumb movie together.
Yeah, with Cam and Dave Robinson. Yeah. Cam Von Cook and Dave Robinson. Robinson.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I've worked at so many shops. It's almost embarrassing. It actually is embarrassing.
There weren't that many shops back then.
Yeah, I worked at Sacred Heart, and then the guy a really important person that I learned tattooing from was Theo Jack, or that would be his common name. Yeah.
Theo came. Yeah, when he came to
Vancouver and was hanging out with Adam, or
Yeah,
at Sacred Heart, right? Yeah,
he was staying with me.
yeah.
'Cause
Okay.
I met Theo when I was 16, and so another part of the tattooing was for sure I met Theo at Expo 86 and he's skateboarding,
Oh, nice.
and we became like really really good friends, and like would talk to each other on the phone all the time, and like mail big packages of stuff. It was so rad. And I went down and stayed with him and his mom in Noe Valley in San Francisco in probably 86. And I got my
Jeez.
first tattoo from him
Rad.
at Goldfield's Tattoo on Broadway.
Cool.
Yep,
Amazing.
right up from the Lusty Lady, which was, I mean, it's incredible. The things I got to see because of that. So amazing, because he showed me around. I went to Tattoo City back then, all of it. So then when I called up Theo and I said, "Hey Theo, I want to be a tattoo artist," he was like, "Nope," and then he hung up. And I knew that there was something to that, so I called him back and I was like, "Hey Theo, like I want to be a tattoo artist," and he was like, "Nope," and he hung up again. And I called him back again and I said, "Hey, I still want to be a tattoo artist." This is like in a row, right? And he's like, fine. And I think that's, right around when I was working at Sacred Heart, like soon after that. So then I left Sacred Heart because Theo said to me, "Do you want to learn how to tattoo from a one-eyed Italian and a one-legged Indian?" And I said, "Yeah." So then I went to Native Images with Percy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that's why I went to Native Images after Sacred Heart, is because Theo said, "Do you want to learn how to tattoo from a one-legged Indian and a one-eyed Italian?" So that was fun.
Amazing.
Want to hear a funny story? I'm sure you're familiar with this story, but Dave and the people listening, a funny story is, so back then, a lot of people traveling would use pre-made needles in their travels and would re-sand them.
Oh yeah, on a matchbook.
Right? 100%.
Yeah.
Re-sand them, like sterilize them, re-sand them, re-sterilize them, reuse them.
Mm-hmm.
Theo got the Sacred Heart and fucking Blair broke all his needles.
Yeah, that's right.
Like 400 needles. Just like and fucking Theo. I remember Blair telling me that story and was like, "Dude, I've never seen somebody get so fucking mad before in my life." And I'm like, yeah, because that's like every fucking one you threw away. He saw that as like a minimum charge tattoo.
Yeah.
You throw away one liner, one mag, you just threw away a minimum charge tattoo. If you just threw away 200 liners, 200 shaders, that's 200 minimum charge tattoos, period. Like,
yeah, and he was traveling, so I
never got to meet him. I'm so bummed.
You never got to meet Theo Jack?
I didn't. I fucking got to hear so many stories about Theo when I ended up in Vancouver in '94 from different people and stuff, but I never got to fucking meet that guy.
He's
just
around.
That legend. Yeah,
he owns a shop in just outside of Oslo now in Stockholm, and he actually has a neurological, a degenerative disease that is affecting his grip strength.
Oh, so fuck.
Yeah.
I gotta write that. Actually, you know what? I want to reach out to him. I want to get him on the podcast.
He'd be awesome.
An epic storyteller.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really polished it after years, and that guy knows everything and everyone. And he's met, I mean, you could talk to him probably for hours just about the time that he spent on Goa.
Yeah.
That,
and even just being a part of the Jacks.
Yeah,
it's just
the
an early, the Jacks were right. It's such an early thing.
Mm-hmm.
Traveling tattooer. Traveling tattooer in the age of was not really traveling anymore. He was very much like the Carney circus tattooer.
He was that cutting edge, the point of the spear when it came to that idea of being a traveling tattoo artist, convention to convention, country to country, being international.
City to city, Yeah.
And doing it like he said, if you can't walk into a hardware store and build a complete setup from scratch, you're a waste of time. Like, so he gave me so many tricks and hacks, like apocalypse kind of ideas about how to tattoo. Like if everything stopped today because of what Theo taught me, I could walk in and know how to tattoo and build stuff from the ground up, which is an incredible gift. Really
Oh, especially now, because that knowledge is lost. Like,
it is.
That's completely. There's so few people that understand that.
Yeah, that's like the at in Toronto, Bill Baker and I, we walked to a local electronics store, and we literally spent $50, and he taught me how to build a fucking power supply.
Yeah.
That could run my fucking tattoo machines better than I had a Spalding and Rogers toaster box at the time, which was insane once I learned about the inside. Yeah, just like two capacitors, there was two of everything inside, and it was like, why doesn't my machine turn down? It's like, because it's only got up. He taught me how to make a fucking power supply for $50, which then went on to become essentially the Icon power supply, which is so fucking rad, right? Like,
that guy's another legend.
Yeah, like
that guy.
Yeah, cool.
The amount. It's funny to think that because I've indirectly been in the tattooing scene since '86, how much stuff I've seen. It's incredible. Yeah. Even just being on the West Coast, not really traveling internationally a lot, and just being on the West Coast, because everybody generally comes through, it feels like, through Vancouver, Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Hollywood, and I've lived in all of those. So it's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to your start. So you're phoning Theo, wanting to tattoo.
And so then,
so then you just started, that was it. You started tattooing. It was over.
I was done.
Yeah. And interview and recording.
Perfect. So then because I'd stayed with him and his mom, and since '86 a couple times, and I would stay with them for all summer, basically. Greyhound down.
Wow.
Eating Fig Newtons, because that's all I had. And then he came up and kind of started teaching me and telling me stuff, the secret of the mag. He was one of the first people to even know what a mag was, a 7 mag rather than a 6 flat. It's insane.
And were you at Sacred Heart still at this time?
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. Okay. So this is when he was hanging out at Sacred Heart. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And then I worked at Anarchy for about, I don't know, a year or two, maybe, with Cam and Dave. And because that was when Clint wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Cam Von Cook, from a guy. He can that guy can draw anything. American traditional, he just draws it on. Like that guy, I don't even know if I actually guest spotted at his shop in Winnipeg, in 2006 or 7, I think. Osborne Village Inc. is a shop. But I went and he didn't even have a stencil maker.
Wow.
If you wanted to stencil something, you had to hand bomb it, which is totally fine. Thank God I know how to fucking do that. But because he just drew he had flash on the walls, American traditional on the wall. Oh, you want that? And he's just going to draw it on you. That dude is fucking rad. So good.
Yeah.
And nobody knows who he is.
No, he taught me between Theo and Cam, I would say that I've got the absolute foundations. Like Cam taught me how to save money when you're only making cash. He taught me how to budget like a tattoo artist.
I fucking wish I had that.
Yeah, no one ever taught me that shit.
And he said, just like how to book back pieces for the winter so that you didn't have to go on welfare for winter. Everything. It was amazing. Just how I lucked out with the people that I managed to just fluke in with had so much depth and love for tattooing that I just, soaked it up. Like I remember one of the reasons why I did change shops so much is I asked the Dutchman, any advice when he finished my sleeve. And he said that probably the one time he actually really didn't bullshit me on something. He said, if you're not learning anything, leave. If you're the smartest person there, leave.
Yeah.
So I think that is something that's really fueled me through the years, is asking that question, am I learning? And if you're not learning, then find somewhere harder to work. Don't ever sit on your laurels. Don't think that, you don't have to learn. There's always somebody who knows more than you do, and find them.
Yeah, that's something I don't know if that exists the same anymore. I mean, I think a lot of people come up in tattooing and they stay in the city they learned in, and then they open their own shop.
Yeah, you don't have to, right? Because we have the technology. We just have it all in our hands to do that adventuring. Like I traveled a little bit to Hawaii, to San Francisco, to LA when I was working at Anarchy. I came back and I had been fired because nobody knew where I was.
Classic.
So I had left the shop, and Cam and Dave both worked there. And when I came back, neither of them worked there, and then neither did I. And it was like,
that was like 96, right? 96? 96? 96, 97? Because I remember
earlier.
Was it a bit earlier?
I was in LA in Hollywood tattooing by 94, 95.
I remember because, Vancouver, small, always walking on Granville Street. I used to always pop in there to say hi to people. And I popped in one day and there was nobody there. Like they had no tattooers at all. And it's just like, what do you... I just want to say hi. I just want to say hi to the tattooer.
I remember one day coming into Anarchy, and because it was back when you were open-ish. You didn't have an opening sign. When somebody was there, it was open, and I would go pretty regularly just because I'd worked a bunch of regular jobs, before that. So I remember going in one day. You'd park in the back and go into the back, and seeing that there was a line of people at the front. And I could tell there'd been, a party the night before, because there was beer cans, cigarettes, and fucking disaster, right?
Dust everywhere.
So I, yes.
White dust.
Everywhere. And
why are these fucking CD covers all scratched up?
Everywhere. Right. So I cracked open the door and said, just give me a second, close the door, cleaned everything as quick as I could, opened the door, let everybody in, and there was a bunch of people, and sat at the desk and watched as the people came in, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so then as they came in, they got a number in my head. There were so many people in the room that I had to stand on one of the chairs, and I stood on the chair and I said, who here wants a tattoo today? And hands went up, and I counted 6 people, and this is in the first year of my tattooing. Who here wants a tattoo? I said, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're all I can tattoo today. And then set up, waivers and what do you want? And wrote it on the thing and said, that's it. And I said, sorry, everybody else has to go and leave. And that was just like how it kind of flew back then. Amazing.
Yeah. That's the way it was back then, though, right? Like just
by the seat of your pants.
Like same. I worked at a shop, Art of Torture in Toronto, before I had my new tribe, and I just would show up and there'd be a fucking lineup, and it would just be like, okay, I don't know. Like there was some nights that I would tattoo till 2 in the fucking morning, and I'm in downtown Toronto, and I live all the way out in Scarborough, and I'm like, I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna get home, So I rode here on my BMX in the fucking morning, right? And it's just like. But it's like, and people are just like, I don't understand. Like, still today, 33 years later, I have people that are like, I don't understand how you tattoo so fast. And I'm like, because I like to make money.
Money.
But even prior to that, the people I worked for liked me to make them money. So if there was fucking 10 people that wanted to get tattooed, well, you're not leaving. You're not leaving until they're tattooed. So it's like you either finish them by 6 or you finish them by midnight.
Yep.
Which one do you want? And
you never
eventually it went from tattooing till midnight to 11 to 10 I wasn't tattooing less people. I was just figuring out how to tattoo people faster, more efficiently, and you know what I mean. So
and it should be noted that you're making more money because back then it was by the piece, and a lot of artists today charge by the hour and shooting themselves in the foot. Like, you know, a tattoo this big has a fucking price. Charge that price. If you can do it fast, that's good for you. If you're slow, well, then fucking learn to be quicker. You know?
I make jokes. I make jokes all the time with my clients. I'll outline a sleeve and I'll be like, because it's, you know, everybody's so used to hourly. I'll be like, it's this much, and they're like, that's it. I'm like, I hate making money. Apparently.
Mm-hmm. I still struggle with charging by the hour. I still. Charging, kind of trying to figure out like half day flat rate or a full day flat rate now.
Yeah.
I mean, people, even clients are like, damn, you did that. And I'm like, I don't know. Sorry. I mean, I'm actually trying to slow down now to be more accurate, to take a breath rather than just like literally tattooing like a gun is to my head.
Well, so you never smoked.
On top of that, no.
You never smoked cigarettes. My thing was cigarette breaks, right? Like, I still bump into people that I tattooed in the 90s at Sacred Heart where they're like, I've never had somebody take somebody's cigarette breaks. And I'm like, it's the only way I can stretch out the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like outline, 3 smokes. Totally. Shading, 3 smokes. Right? Some color, 3 smokes. A bit more color, 3 smokes. White highlights, 3 smokes. Like, it's just the only way I could like stretch shit out, or else it'd be like, I'm fucking making, like, you know, I'm doing a sleeve. I'm outlining a sleeve and I'm making $200.
I mean, and people nowadays too forget. I don't know what. I mean, that's another thing. I suppose it changes percentages, but I mean, you were stoked if you made 50% of. Yeah. You know, I mean, you guys know that. I mean, and now that's so variable. It's all over the place. You know, I've heard 70-30 cuts both ways. I've heard
that's my shop is pretty much straight 70-30. It's, you know, it's more than what a lot of people around are giving and stuff. But I don't have a big shop. I don't want a high turnover. I want dudes to come, you know, people to be happy. So it's just like, I'm not trying to make a shit ton of money off of you, but I would like my bills paid.
Right.
I'd like my bills paid. You know, I'm not trying to gouge anybody. You know what I mean? Like, if you guys work super fucking hard, you'll make me enough money and you'll make yourselves a fuck ton of money. And that's good enough for me, you know. But yeah, like 50%, man. I was working at Montreal in the 90s on a 50% cut. Keith Stewart, we were just talking about Keith Stewart, Tattoo Artistique, and I was making like $2,000 a day on a 50-50 cut in a city that had a $30 minimum charge. And if I didn't tattoo fast, I would have never have made that. Right? Like, just you had to just. You had to. Yeah. You had to.
When I got to San Francisco, I was lucky enough. I was getting a back piece by Marcus Pacheco, and I had gotten a sleeve by Grimy, and Grimy was just starting to travel a lot, and he had gone to see somebody in Hamburg whose like goal was to tattoo as fast as humanly possible, and that's when that idea really, really hit me, is that is actually to do a very complicated tattoo as quickly as possible. And I spent years working on getting as fast as possible without blowouts, you know, with holidays and still solid, like not cutting corners, not like, oh, well, there's a blowout. I guess that's where the black, you know, shading starts, you know, shit like that. But that's another Cam piece of advice. You do it. How do I do the shading? It's like, well, the blowout is, okay, there's
the blowout will show you. Let the blowout guide you.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean,
no, go on.
No, that's it.
All right. What year did you actually start when did you do your first tattoo? Do you remember?
I remembered my first tattoo was in my basement, illegal
Yeah.
basement apartment.
Yeah.
In East Vancouver. Expect
Of
no
course.
mercy. On my roommate, Fawn Mulcahy.
Oh, fun.
Oh, I know
Oh,
Fawn.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody
Yes.
else is. Ooh, what?
The Fawns.
Fawns! The Fawns! I'm actually going to tattoo her again, like in a couple of months. She's going to come down here. I'm so stoked.
Nice.
And I free-handed a perfect little circle and did it with a single needle.
What?
Yeah. Still there. She can't remember what size. It's like on her hip. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So that would have been, I could probably ask her. I think we tried to remember. I think that is early 90s. So like maybe 92, 93. I think I usually put 93 is when I start.
Okay.
Or I just pick it. Whatever.
Because you were, and then, because I met you in 94 is when I met you.
That makes sense. That makes sense then.
Yeah. And you were
and then I was down
at
in
Anarchy. And I think you were just starting at Anarchy when we met. Like, or you were pretty fresh at Anarchy. And Bill was just fresh at the Dutchman's. At that time.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, just sorry. You get lost in memories. No, you get
Totally,
lost.
right? Hey, I still have super vivid memories of us seeing the R. Crumb movie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
we went to go see, sorry to everybody who's listening to this, but we went to go see a show at that really great shithole hotel that was right next to the Montgomery Cafe in Vancouver.
Oh, the
Montgomery.
Montgomery.
It was a really cool show. And that's where I have a very vivid memory of meeting you. And I can't, it's not the Biltmore or the Balmoral. It had good neon. I can't remember. But that's the vivid memory I have of meeting you.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. See, that's your memory of me and you, but my memory of me and you is the movies of seeing that fucking Crumb documentary, which was amazing. Because prior to that, I had no idea who that guy was. And you were like, let's go see this movie. Yeah, and you were like, let's go see this movie. And I was like, okay, because I'm a huge movie nerd. And I was like, okay. And I was just like, afterwards, I was like, who's this guy? Who's this fucking art? So that totally took me in a different direction of stuff I started looking at and seeing and reading and stuff. So it's very cool. So that's a very vivid memory of my past. Yeah. Yeah. So thanks for that.
Makes sense. Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then so Sacred Heart, Anarchy, and believe it or not, if you want to get technical, I worked at Ace Tattoo.
No shit.
Nice.
Yeah.
When?
I got to work with
with who?
Guy named Ziggy. And Ziggy was an old biker who worked at Anarchy right at the end. So I had come back from doing my walkabout there, going down to Southern California and stuff. And I'd gotten fired. And then I was like, fuck, I got nowhere to work. Shit, what am I going to do? And somebody's like, oh, Ziggy works at Ace. And I was like, okay, fuck it. Let's work at Ace.
Ace was still on Hastings at that time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
the
right.
OG fucking A. That's amazing. That's totally a badge of honor for me.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Not only did
amazing.
not many people get to actually not say they've never been tattooed at Ace, have they ever been tattooed there, but you were a woman in the early 90s that worked at Ace fucking Tattoo.
Yeah. I mean, for a moment, just a moment.
Yeah, that's pretty badass.
And then I called up Adam and I said, I'm fucked. What the fuck do I do? I want to get out of here. There's nothing here for me. I want to get out of Vancouver. And he's like, why don't you call up Jason Schroeder down at Incognito Tattoo in Pasadena? He'll hire you. Sight unseen, just because he's nice. And I called him up. He's like, yeah, fuck yeah. And then I drove down to California.
I was so expecting you to say Barnaby from Mums.
Yes.
I'm not even joking.
No,
I'm not even joking. Barnaby at Mums on Haight-Ashbury area. And that's really where I thought you were going to tell me. I had no idea that you worked with Jason.
Yeah, Jason Schroeder.
Amazing. Yep. Yeah, I love Jason.
That's where I met Henry Lewis when he was 17 or 18, and he was still a graffiti guy. So I met Henry when he was like a baby. and I was a baby. So I worked in Pasadena, then I worked at Purple Panther. Yeah, and the list goes on.
You worked at Purple Panther?
Yeah. Yeah, I worked at Purple Panther for...
Who owned Purple Panther again? These are
M.
like old
Her name
names.
was M.
Best.
And her sister, okay, this is fucking rad. I got to work with this lady named Flame, who was M's sister. And Flame is one of the original Ladies of Glow, the glamorous ladies of
No way.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Fucking rad. So I worked with M and Flame and her husband, and then a couple other guys. This guy, Graham McAfee, he's so fucking talented. I met Jason McAfee there, who worked at Mr. Nice Guys, Freddie Corbin's.
Freddie Corbin's Street,
in Oakland. So I met Jason McAfee there. Yeah,
dude,
this is what I mean.
His TAM interview is the best. if anybody even knows what Tattoo Arts Magazine is, get the fucking get the episode, get the fucking issue with Jason in it, where I forget who's interviewing him. It might be
that's another amazing.
It might be Juan. It might be.
Yeah, because Juan worked at Freddie Corbin.
Fucking one of the first. I'm not even joking. I've never met Jason, but one of the first questions because his friend is interviewing him. His fucking friend asks him, points to his jeans, is like, "How long have you been wearing those fucking jeans?" He's like, like 6, and he's like 6 months. It was when that whole raw denim, raw denim thing was in, and then his friend goes, "How many times have you peed them?"
Amazing.
People, you need to find that interview. I'm not even talking about it anymore because I was just like, that is the greatest interview ever. And the dude is like such a fucking talent.
Oh my God, yeah.
So hilarious. So sharp. Yeah. So fucking sharp. Actually, I helped. Yeah. Fuck. I was traveling back and forth when I was in Hollywood to San Francisco, of course, because Jason knew Barnaby, and I loved San Francisco, because of Theo. And I was traveling back and forth. That's where I met Barnaby. That's where I met the crew originally to then start at Moms. And I also met Jeff Whitehead because I was getting tattooed at Primal Urge, the original one on a Masonic and Geary. And then Jeff helped me find work in San Francisco. And then I was at Mom's for probably 6 or 7 years, and then a couple other shops. And then I went to
so you did end up at Mom's.
Oh, yeah. I worked at Mom's.
I thought you were... Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought you were at Mom's, and I just didn't know the first part.
No.
That's hilarious. Barnaby.
Yeah, Barnaby.
That dude was space shrimp in his armpit. Then he got tattooed in San Francisco, but in the hotel room. It was like the coolest thing ever. Like that dude was a fucking character. And then Adrian Love. Do you remember Adrian Love?
Yep.
I don't know if nobody else will know Adrian Love. It was a fake fucking name. He came to Sacred Heart in Vancouver.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Calderon was his last name. His actual last name.
He stole a bunch of my shit, and then I had some friends find him, and then he returned all that shit in the middle of the night. We show up. We show up at Sacred Heart in the morning, and a bunch of my shit is at the back door, just like lined up, and it's like, oh, cool.
Hi, thanks.
Yeah.
That guy tattooed his way across Canada. I've worked in so many fucking shops where people, I'd be like, who did that tattoo or whatever, or telling stories. And it'll always be Jay Fresh or fucking Adrian Love. The 2 names he went by in Canada, but his name was Jason Calderon, I think was his real name.
Yeah. Yep. I worked with Joe Schmo there.
Joe Schmo.
This is insane. So all the, you know
what's crazy is that I didn't know who Joe Schmo was. So I'm friends with the guys in the band Fear Factory in the 90s and the 2000s. And Burton C. Cummings, the singer for the band, was fucking roommates with him. And
no way.
He gave me a flash set. He's this is my roommates. wax set. And I was like, rad. And I still have it. It's so cool.
No
Like,
way.
yeah.
God.
It was like early days when him and Joe lived in like that Silver Lake or Trout Lake area of like LA and stuff. And
Yep.
yeah, it was fucking crazy. So cool.
So that is because I knew Jeff Whitehead through McAfee. That's how I wound up at Roseland Ballroom. That's how I wound up in the New York convention. And I got to meet Dan Higgs through Jeff.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to do the New York thing before tattooing was legal. Got to, because you also mentioned Eric. You interviewed somebody who knew Eric and he worked, and it was.
Are you talking about old Dread Eric?
Yeah. When he worked in New York. What's the name of the shop they worked in? It was when you still had to have a secret knock. What was it? It was in New York Adorned?
And it was downstairs in the basement.
Yeah.
I have pictures of us with like Patrick Conlon, him, I think Nala and stuff.
Yes.
Eric, not Desmond. What was his last name? He now works at like Da Vinci Inc., I think.
Yeah.
In like Long Island. But he also was a friend of Barnaby's. That's how I met Eric. He was in Vancouver.
Eric Jones. Yeah. Eric Jones.
Super rad dude.
Yes.
Super nice guy.
Yep.
He had a tack tattoo on his toe, and I'm like, why the fuck do you have a tack tattoo on your toe? And he's like, dude, tack toe, man. Everybody in fucking San Francisco, if they're houseless, they fucking say like,
yo, bro,
nice tacks. You knew a fucking homeless dude was from a prison when he called your tattoos tacks. So they all got fucking tattoos. And I was like, Eric Jones, that guy was. I went to New York because of that guy. He was fucking rad. That guy's
and
so nice.
I think it was New York Adorned that he was at. And then
because they had the piercing. No, actually, no. He was at
why can't we remember the name of it?
It was the piercing place. It was
because Eric started as a piercer.
Yes. And upstairs, when you walked in, me and Steve Simons went, you walked in, it was only a piercing salon, like most electric, and you open a trap door and you go downstairs and it's a fucking full tattoo. It might have been New York Adorned, actually. Yeah,
I think it
probably
was
New York Adorned. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it was either New York Adorned or it was Gauntlet. It was one of the two.
I think it was New York Adorned.
Yeah. I tell people that story, they're like, what do you mean there's a tattoo shop underground?
Yeah.
Like,
so I got to see Jonathan Shaw's shop, all that, and I knew about this stuff because of Theo. I knew what to see and kind of like the culture of how to have the eye for what was authentic and the questions to ask and stuff like that. So when I went to New York for that first convention, so much of it was to see that part of the history so deliberately because I knew it was, just becoming legal and I wanted to really see that point at which it was shifting. And because it was literally that year, 97, that's when they lifted the ban. Yep. Yeah.
Like the only shop that was like working above ground at that time was Tattoo Scene, Shawn, in the Bronx.
Yeah.
And then I forget the name of the other shop that opened. The people, they were part of the convention.
Was it St. Mark's? The one in St. Mark's?
No. And there was like drive-by shootings were happening and windows were being fucking, like it was a big fucking deal. When New York went legal, people do not understand. Because when it went legal, everything went from underground to above ground. And everybody is like, you're on my fucking block, bro. Not cool. Like, were you tattooing at New York Convention? Or just hanging out?
No, I wasn't because I was too intimidated.
Yeah. Same.
Because, it was like permanent mark. And it was...
Yeah, so many.
It was the badasses of the badasses.
Dude, I got to meet fucking Spiderweb.
Yeah.
And Gigi Allen's brother. I forget his name right now.
Wow.
But I met Gigi Allen's brother because he was at the convention selling art. Like... That convention for anybody, Dave missed out on that. A lot of people listening probably missed out on that.
Yeah.
That convention was insane. Like
I feel like we could spend like hours just telling tall tales of just that year. Yeah.
Let's
amazing.
rewind it back. Okay. So you were jumping around a lot in San Francisco, and then how many years were you at Mums?
I'm going to say probably a little bit over 5 years. I have this really bad habit from when I was a little kid. We moved every 5 years. So when I hit that 5-year mark, something starts happening to this day of like, what's over there? What's over there? What's that? You know, like, what's going on there? And I get antsy. And so I generally say I move shops so many times just because 5 years is like this inflection point in my body of just like, well, it's time to do something else. This is old. This is whatever is going on. There's something new. There's something I'm missing or whatever. And I get this thing, like I get fucking ants in my pants and then shoot myself in the tack toe and leave. So probably about 5 or 6 years. And I went to Brain Drops for probably 5 or 6 years. And I helped open a shop. Then I worked at Idle Hand for about a year. And then I worked at Seventh Sun. And I worked at Seventh Sun for about 7-8 years.
Idle Hand was open that long ago? That's a great shop too.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Wow.
And the lady who owns it, Holly, is badass. She is so fucking cool. And a lot of amazing artists have gone through that shop. Amazing. Yeah. It's one of the few like female owned shops in San Francisco.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. She's badass.
Very
that lady
cool.
knows a lot of shit. Yeah. A
What-
really good interview.
So what year did you end up at Seventh Sun?
2010.
But and then when did you leave Seventh Sun? You left them only just a few years ago, right?
2017.
Oh, longer than I thought. Oh, okay.
Late. Yeah. Well, it's the pandy.
Yeah.
All of our time.
Yeah. Well, and it's tattooer time too, right? It's like Bill always said, like, oh, Hedley lives 3 years in one. So it's like so much time fucking passes because I was still at Classic Tattoo, and a girl, Jen, got tattooed at Seventh Sun, and she came back and was like, "Oh, Cecelia says hi." And she was she was a young girl from Vancouver, and it was just like she was really trying to like get in with a lot of people and stuff. Not the right way, and she came back and was like, "Oh, Cecelia says hi," and I'm like, "Oh, fuck, do you know Cecelia?" Like, I was totally like almost angry, like, "Fuck, you know Cecelia," right? And she was like, "Oh, I just met her in Seventh Sun," and she was like, "Oh, and she told me about you going to the movies with her and a concert and stuff," and I was just like, "Okay," like,
right, all insulted.
And, no.
Don't talk to me, bitch.
Oh man.
No, but then it was funny because it was like how long ago that was, and then it's just like that time. So then my brain just locked you into Seventh Sun.
Yeah.
So then I kind of move on. I do my things. I open my shop and stuff, and then it's like, oh yeah, Cecilia's on Seventh Sun, and it's like, oh no, you left there in 2017. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, tattooer brain.
Then, yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like too when you're really dedicated to tattooing and obsessed, thoroughly obsessed. I used to work, at the shop, and I would look at Luke and be like, what the fuck, it's Friday? Holy shit, where the fuck did the week go? It was like long days, short weeks. You'd go sleep, like wake up Monday, go to sleep on Friday, because you were cranking so hard. Get up, draw, work out, go to the shop, eat, work. I mean, I would put my machine down at 8:30 at night, and I wouldn't leave the shop because you'd sit and decompress or fuck off in the back, and, problem solve with the other guys. And you got like 13 people there. So there's endless conversation, endless booze, endless bullshitting, endless laughs.
Endless end of relationships.
Yeah. And you would there was so much going on.
Yeah.
And I agree. Like when you're that focused on something that you love so much, and you're sucking up everything you possibly can with everyone around you, time it changes. Something changes. You literally look at your watch. You go, fuck, it's 11 o'clock at night. I got to go home. Fuck you guys. I'm fucked.
Yeah. Because like I've said this before to other people, like Instagram, I've been booted off so many fucking times. I was friends or followed you a long time ago on Instagram. You were into like cycling. Oh
yeah, that's another lifetime ago. Yeah, I was semi-professional.
Yeah, like a long fucking time ago, and I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Like that's what I mean. Like how our lives kind of work,
Yeah.
where it's just kind of like, if we don't, especially if we don't see each other, right? It's like, I had to go
Yeah.
pick something up at a printer's the other day. That's Dan River Valley Printing, tattoo oriented, right?
Yeah.
So my girlfriend, she's smart. She's like, do you just have to run up and get something? And I'm like, I'll go back another day when you're not with me. Because I know it's going to end up fucking being a conversation, right? So,
yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well,
hold on.
Hold on.
we're just,
No, time.
Yeah, semi-pro cyclist. You can't drop that bomb and then just walk away from it like it's nothing.
yeah. She was posting more
Yeah.
pictures of her bike than a fucking tattoo for a while. That's for sure.
Yeah, I know what that's like.
Yeah, I fell in love, got obsessed. I did jujitsu too. I did jujitsu, of course, the Seventh Son.
Well, yeah, Seventh Son.
7 or 8 years. Yeah,
Nice.
amazing.
Yeah.
Got to, roll at the flagship of the Half Gracie, with Kurt Osiander. What the fuck,
Dude,
Anthony
his
Bourdain went through that
YouTube
trial.
documentary is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
him hanging out in Seventh Son trying to draw and shit and everybody busting his chops is the fucking greatest thing ever. Like, if people want to see somebody trying to hang out in the tattoo shop and learn, Kurt Osiander, full grown man, exceptional at jujitsu, going to a tattoo shop during the day, hanging out and drawing in the drawing room, and then getting shit on.
It's called payback.
But in a nice way, right? Like,
yeah.
hey, man, that's, if
Kurt,
you actually want to put this on a human, you got to be better. That Kurt Osiander documentary on YouTube is like the fucking greatest.
I haven't seen that. Kurt is just, what a soul, what a giving, like generous, the most generous person I've met when it comes to his skill set. I mean, fuck. But professional cycling. So I mostly did track racing. I traveled to a couple velodromes in America, did nationals a couple times, got thoroughly obsessed for probably about 15 years.
Weird. A tattooer getting obsessed about something.
Yeah.
I know. Weird. That's how we find our balance, right? We obsess about something else.
God. Yeah. I mean, you could hand me something, anything, and I'd get obsessed about it. Gardening, landscaping, architecture, watches, cake making, fucking whatever it is. You just get into
watches and cake making side by side. That's the
seriously. I have
So how long were you cycling for then?
about 15 years.
Gee. So was it like a national circuit? Was it a world circuit? What?
I never got to do worlds. I did nationals a bunch of times. So I competed at Kenosha, a race down in LA at Carson City. My home track was Hellier. I raced up here in Portland at Alpenrose, which is, wow, one hell of a track. I did okay.
Do you race in weight or age classes? How does it work?
Age.
Age class.
5 years. 5 years. So your race age, and I still do this to this day, is your birthday the year ahead. So if I'm 53 this year, my race age is 54. So so I would be at the bottom of 50 to 55. So you want to
similar to jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu's age, sex, and weight.
Yeah.
So in jiu-jitsu, I never competed because when I asked Kurt, should I compete? He was like, no, there's like 3 people. You'd always have to do open class because you're old, you're a woman, and you're like, I was about 15.
Yeah. And unfortunately, really even in 2023, depending on where you train or where you compete, it's still the same. Unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are
unless
more
you're
women getting into it.
Oh, 100%. If you're doing if you're doing adult worlds, ADCC, like the bigger stuff, 100% women.
Yeah, and those women are incredible.
But like local stuff for local tournaments, like my gym, our 17-year-old phenom, 115-pound girl, she's still usually fighting adult women, usually 10 to 15 pounds heavier because there's nobody in her belt range, It's just like, so she's a blue belt, usually fighting female purple belts, adult, 10, 15 pounds heavier.
Oof.
Yeah. Oof. And her mom is usually one of them.
Oh, no.
we have video footage of her. Her name's Emma. We have video footage of her and her fighting her mom. And we would like scream for both of them and then start cheering Emma on first and then her mom and then back and like it would be back and forth.
That's
and
rad.
Her mom's dirty though. Her mom would always end up wrist locking her.
Oof.
Like just shitty stuff in competition.
Cold.
Yeah,
Wrist lock, get a thumb lock, get a toe lock, get an ankle
Yeah,
lock.
yeah.
God damn it. That's the way
so
to do
funny.
it.
But
Yeah, you got your forehead on somebody else's forehead. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, anyways, jiu-jitsu, another total wormhole, got thoroughly obsessed. Yeah.
Yeah, which I could already see in Dave's face. He's just like, I don't give a fuck. Dave doesn't care.
The gentle art of jiu-jitsu.
So, okay, so you were, let's go back to a couple different shops in San Francisco. You were with Barnaby at Mom's for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
And how was that for you? Because now at this point in time, you've been tattooing for a few years, but you've jumped ship essentially a lot and jumped around. Are you starting to find yourself creatively? Are you still just kind of like the walk-in smasher? Like, what's going on?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah. So by the time I got to Mom's, I had been tattooing probably about 4 years, 5-ish years. And that's when I was definitely starting to decide I need to find my voice. And I knew that was probably going to be at the 7-year mark. I don't know why I picked the 7-year mark, but 7-8 years, I felt like this is what it's going to, probably because Theo had said, it's going to take you 7 years. Because an apprenticeship, an old school apprenticeship is 7 years, right? That's what his apprenticeship was at Goldfields. So I had 7 years in my head. Like, I'm basically just learning the basics for about this first 7 years. So I was trying to find what came easy, and what flowed for sure. Oddly, I got really pretty good at doing portrait work. But I didn't want to do it because from art school, I felt like portrait work was basically just being a very good copyist. And I still wanted to, I felt like I knew that would get me into a corner really, really quick. Like if I specialized in portrait work, that was it. That was fucking it,
That's
and
what we were told a lot in the 90s.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And so I was like, well, Japanese seems really classic. And so I kind of did that. And then Jeff Whitehead was like, don't do that. You don't do that. That's terrible. You're breaking it. Those clouds are upside down and you don't know that. So
I still look at my friends with upside down clouds in water and makes me so sad.
Yep. So I was like, check, that's done.
And I won't call you out right now, but you know who you are.
So that's when I was like, okay, if I'm not at a shop that knows how to teach me certain things, there are certain things that are off limits. Large Japanese work being one of them. So that's when I was like, okay, I got to figure this shit out. And I think I started getting into floral stuff there. And I was still doing walk-ins and it was a semi-custom street shop because that was kind of like you had the thing that was made you fancy, I mean, and this, you can't forget that this is right at the beginning of 222.
I was going to say 222 Everlasting, like Marcus's shop is still happening, Primal Urge.
Right, where everybody there, all the guys who worked there could open their own shops. And that was the bar. Yeah. So you had this is before Black Market? Blackheart, thank you.
Blackheart,
You had this idea starting to fulminate of having these super shops and everybody just kicking it, just out of the park, with their own specialty. So I was right on the cusp of that. And was just starting. So I think that Mom's is where I really was like, okay, I got to figure this out because that's what was starting. And I worked with a couple of people who did only old school, and then I went to Brain Drops and that's when I got to work with Marcus Pacheco and Yataro and Philip Millick. And they had their own very distinctive artistic voices. that basically taught me you can do anything, but you need to look through your window. So there's two ways to tattoo. You can be a generalist, you know, or you can look out your window and do whatever it is. You look at photo reference. You don't look at anybody else's work, whatever you're drawing. And that's how to get your voice and how to make sure that you have your part of real estate in tattooing.
Yeah.
And of course, I was looking at Chris Kahn's stuff.
Yeah.
That's when I got tattooed by him, and was very fortunate to have a couple great conversations with him. And that's, I think, seeing Chris Kahn's stuff with Marcus's stuff, and of course Aaron Kane, Mike D, Henry Lewis. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, George Campisi.
Yeah.
The people's work that I had access to was astounding.
Especially in San Francisco at that time.
Yeah, so saturated with talent.
Like Mike Davies, not to be confused with Mike DeVries. Mike Davies from Everlast, like Nala, like all these fucking people that like
Ed Hardy's shop,
right?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
I mean, the giants. I mean, and that's why I left Canada specifically.
I wish I had your balls.
Desperation. It was desperation. That's all it was. I knew that either I could be a, big fish, small pond, or small fish forever in a big pond. And it was a very deliberate decision on my part to seek out humiliation on a daily basis.
That's hard to do. That takes a lot of strength. Most people don't have that self-confidence or fortitude to put themselves in that position year after year after year, right? Like,
well, I think how I tell myself is that if you are a beginner, you can always suck. And, like at jujitsu, I was like, let's do jujitsu. Fuck it. I don't know. I can suck at it. And so you get this free pass to suck for like years. And everybody's like, oh, you're so great. You're doing so great for a beginner. And you're like, thanks, man. So that's how kind of I look at it when it comes to learning something new, is that I give myself a free pass to just fail constantly. So I actually don't view it as something that is, brave or whatever. It's just giving myself a free pass to suck for a while.
I need to ask, because brain drop?
Braindrops. Great shop. Terrible name.
Yeah. I've never fucking heard of it.
Yeah,
how did I work on the West Coast and feel I was plugged in and never know that this shop existed? Who owned Braindrops?
It was tiny. It was owned by this guy, Dave, a piercer. It was a piercer shop. And then I think
makes sense.
He owned at one time the largest mobile sound system on the West Coast.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah. Mayhem ensued. It was great. And then I think when Primal Urge kind of fell apart, I think they lost their lease or something.
Okay.
I can't remember why, but then Marcus knew Dave and opened a private studio kind of in Braindrops. And that's when that tattooing started flowering. And that's when Tara started working there and Philip worked there. And they expanded a little bit. So then I got offered a space there.
Awesome. And you were there for how long?
I was there for the standard 5 years.
Correct.
But fair, to be fair, they lost their lease as well.
Okay. No, but honestly, like, I've always said, like, one of my guys was with me for 5 years, and then I knew he wanted to leave. I knew he wanted to leave from day one. His goal was to go to Steveston. He gave me 5 years, and it was so funny knowing he was ready to leave and watching him squirm to tell me he wanted to leave. And he finally told me, I'm like, awesome. And he's like, I'm like, dude, you gave me 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, that's 5 years for all the young people that are listening. That's awesome. You give a shop 5 years of your fucking life, and if they give you something back, that's fucking awesome. Like, 2 years, not good.
Yeah.
Unless it's a shitty shop and you're being treated horrible, and you know what I mean. But like, if you're jumping around every 6 months to a year, is the shop the problem?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Dave knows this. I'm talking about
I've gone
Dave
to therapy.
specifically.
I mean, I've gone to therapy.
Right?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Dave finally realized about 5 years ago that he was the common denominator in a lot of his problems.
Well, that was in my personal relationships. That had nothing to do with the shops.
Please. Please.
It's not like I fucked around in the same town. I moved across the country.
Yeah.
Dave came and worked with me one week, and he was like, if this was my shop, there'd be no TVs in here.
That's exactly how I talk too.
And I'm like,
exactly how I said it.
This isn't your fucking shop.
Yes, Shawn never talks that way either.
It's not my shop either.
No, but you never talk that way at all, do you? Never.
Not anymore. Not since Sacred Heart.
Now that you have a platform. Once a week for an hour and a half.
I'm a middle-aged white man. I've always had a platform.
Oh, what?
All right, so brain dropped, and then how did you get? Well, I don't have to ask how you got into Seventh Son. That's kind of rude. How did you end up at Seventh Son?
No, full transparency. I really made an effort to be part of that shop. I sought that position. That's what I wanted.
That's what I mean. Like, it wasn't handed to you because you knew somebody. I mean, like, how did you end up actually getting your foot through the door?
Well, they were expanding. They were moving, and they had an extra table. And I had very deliberately, I'm going to reel that back a little bit. When I was working at Brain Drops, they were very, very sweet people, like nice, kind, inclusive, tolerant, sweet, kind people. And my deranged tattooer mind was like, this is fucked up. Why are these people so fucking nice? I gotta find some shit.
I didn't want to say ooh, but
right. I gotta find some shit talking fucking tattooers who are gonna just make me laugh and swear out loud. So I would go down to Everlasting Tattoo and do my homework at night, because those guys work till 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So it was Campisi, Henry Lewis. God damn it. I'm forgetting this really. G Money was there. This really nice guy, Adrian. Mike Davis was there once in a while. But I was friends, of course, with Henry Lewis from way back in Pasadena, no?
Yeah.
So I would go to Everlasting, and I was always looking for drawing critiques. And this was the best way, because they were open. They were just down the hill. It was on my way back home. And I would just stop by and draw on the back. And I started doing the same thing when George started working and Joey was working at Seventh Son, and I was going to art school. I was going to the Academy of Art. And
wait. So hold on, sorry.
Full-time tattooer going to art school.
Full-time tattooer, and you decided to go back to art school. What were you specifically going to art school for?
Originally, it was to learn how to draw in 3 dimensions, and it was based off a couple of conversations I had with Mike D. I was like, I cannot, for the fucking life of me, figure out how to think in 3-dimension. I'm a very 2-dimensional seer, always have been. I don't know how to explain that, but I see things flat. And I wanted to be able to think how to design in the round. I knew my composition sucked because I didn't know what composition was. I didn't know how to draw first point, single point, 2-point, 3-point perspective. I didn't have color. I had a little bit of color theory. I went to Emily Carr. So I knew I was missing huge chunks. Yeah. And again, scrambling to fucking keep up, scrambling. I was like, fuck it. I'm going to fucking go to art school. And I went to the Academy because it's a working art school, and I knew that I wouldn't have to do all the foundations. I could walk and say, here's money, fuck you, this is what I want to learn. And I went back deliberately. My first class was, 3D rendering. I did illustration. In total, I went back for about 3 years. And
What year was that?
Wow.
Because you're probably tattooing already 10 years.
Yeah, and bike racing.
Yeah.
There was a couple of months there where my ex-husband.
Yeah.
For a reason,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I
was
wasn't going
like,
to bring him up.
yeah, he's like, this isn't fun. I don't like this, because I was bike racing, working, and going to art school.
Yeah.
But I fell in love with illustration, and I would do portrait work, animal studies. Like I did a specialization on hand and like face drawing portraiture from life. Illustration I can recommend. Like if anybody really wants, I think, a real leg up in tattooing, take illustration courses. The stuff that you learn there is incredible, because illustration as a discipline by nature teaches you everything. It teaches you watercolor, lino cutting, printmaking, oil, everything. It teaches you color theory. It teaches you.
And just for the young people listening, what Cecelia means is like a traditionally trained artist teaching illustration, not something on Domestica or Masterclass where it's a tattooer teaching you illustration.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Foundational.
Real stuff. So that's pretty fucking amazing, honestly. And
all these guys were functioning professional artists. So what was great about that school, as well, is that every professor that you went to, if you were back in the marketplace, you were competing against them. And that's why I went, because I was scrambling. I mean, the company that I was keeping, fucking grimy.
Yeah.
Fucking grimy. I would go and get, like, deliberately, I started at Mom's. And when I was getting my sleeve from grimy, I was like, can I get critiques from you? Because I had gone to art school at Emily Carr. And he was like, yeah. And, I'm sure you've heard this story again. Is I'd gather up, I'd tattoo my hardest for 6 months, and I'd gather up all my 6x4 glossy photos to show the best of the best. And he would be like, no, just don't do that again. You fuck this up here, do this. And I would sit and take notes. And the best that I could possibly do was like gone in 2 minutes of critiquing.
Yeah.
So I was desperate. I was fucking desperate to get better, because I knew I had so many holes in basically everything except my line work, and the tattooing, then, you think about the stuff that Guy Aitchison was doing, this explosion of, bottom-lit, top-lit stuff with all that stuff that Guy Aitchison was doing. How the fuck do you do that?
Yeah.
Shit. And I'm like, I can do a name. You're like,
I can do Sailor Jerry Flash.
Yeah, right. I went back to fucking art school. Fuck yes.
That's impressive.
That's incredibly impressive, because tattooers have huge egos. Sorry, tattooers, but most tattooers do. Not all tattooers portray having huge ego, but a lot of us have huge egos or sensitive egos, in the sense that hard to take that inside look and want to actually do better, right? I definitely fucking didn't. I worked with guys like Steve Moore and Rob Hope and all these guys, and I was like, but I was happy being like the standard tat guy. I'll just do the tats. I'm good with that, because if I try, if I try, I had Bill, but Bill was fine. Bill was just like, yeah, man, be the best tattooer you can be. You don't have to be the best artist. Steve will be the best artist in the shop. You be the best tattooer in the shop. And I'm like, okay,
right. That definition is
right. So I'll do the fucking best line work with the cleanest shading and the most solid colors possible. But it's not going to be super dynamic. It's going to be just a tattoo, right? It's not going to be some great art piece, right? So I had that, because for me to look outside of that, I would have crumbled personally. My ego is way too fucking fragile. So working with Steve Moore I never felt I was in a shadow of Steve Moore. I love Steve Moore. I would
Yeah, how could
push
you not?
Steve Moore. Well, and I like somebody would come in and be like, "Man, that's a really cool tattoo. You should get Steve Moore to do that." You know what I mean? Like, just you got to push that stuff, and I'll just do the stuff that I excel at. I excel at the 2D flat traditional style tattooing and stuff like that. So for you to like seek out school 10 years into a career where you're making a living, that's pretty fucking cool. I wouldn't call it brave, but that's pretty fucking cool. Like,
but again, I mean, context. I had the Dutchman's voice in my head.
Yeah.
I had that level of tattoo around me, and I was scrambling because if I wanted to be relevant in the market, I had to fucking keep up. And I'm driven essentially by fear, you know, like most tattoo artists. It's funny you say fragile ego. My friend Gordon Combs and I were talking about, that would be a good interview for you guys too. That guy's gold, fucking gold. We always called it, code was Fragile Eagles, and we were going to have a band called the Fragile Eagles.
That would be amazing.
And it would all
everybody in the band when they play live has to face away from the audience.
Yes, totally agreed. But yeah, I mean, I think the secret is that I'm definitely driven by a fear of not being relevant, because I need to make money. You know, this is it. This is all I've got. And if I don't, I mean, I'm a naturally curious person. You know, my dad always said to me, just look, observe, you know, the truth is in the details. Beauty is simple. Truth is simple. The sign of a genius is simplicity and understanding. And if you pay attention and look, you'll see it. And I'm driven as a result out of the fear of not being able to be relevant and to make a living, you know, in this market, because man, people, I mean, you know, you look at the kids these days, what the fuck, you know?
Welcome to middle age.
No. I have a 42-year-old that works for me that I call a kid. Because he hasn't been tattooing nearly as long as me. So I refer to him as a kid because in tattooing, you're a kid, right? So I know what you mean. Kids these days.
I was just talking to Jeff Croce about this new technique that we just kind of accidentally saw on Instagram, and I'm already trying to hack it. It's so amazing. Like the new stuff that's coming out of Korea, all that stipple stuff, like stippling with color, like, wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Have you seen, I'm going to fucking butcher his name, so I'm not going to say it. I will send it to you. Have you seen the guy that does everything with a 3-round?
That's what Jeff and I were just talking about.
Tun Lang or something from Taiwan.
Yes. Fuck off.
He does fucking taburi.
Wow.
With a rotary on an angle with a 3-round.
Yes.
I've been following that guy for years.
Really?
Yeah. I'm like, well,
That's amazing. Amazing. Like, it's so exciting. It's so fucking exciting.
Huge fields of solid black or solid yellow or solid white and it's fucking solid. All done. With like
a 3.
Yeah. And like, instead of being like this, like literally like
at a super oblique angle. Yeah.
I'll post it to the podcast. One of his videos to the podcast link, because I've mentioned him before, and when I lost my last account, I lost him. So I of course didn't know his name because everything is in Taiwanese, and I happened to come across him again. Might have been just after we had Jeff on, and I was just like, oh my God, I found him again.
Yeah.
It's like,
I love this, like the Trevor McStay thing, you know, like that guy's been tattooing for how long, and he still has the curiosity and the fire. And I think that's so important. So important. And again, that's part of finding the balance, is finding that curiosity, that thing that fires you, you know?
Yeah.
Because then it's fresh, it's exciting, it's new. You wake up, you're like, I gotta fucking get my shit together, you know, and it gets through that curiosity. It's just that really funny combination of like desperation and curiosity and like,
it's a fine line between that and burnout, though. You know, like you get so obsessed by your curiosity that you work yourself into a tizzy that you can almost burn yourself out.
I would say for me, after my divorce, I deliberately thought, let's just see where it goes if I redline it all the time. Let's just throw it into 6.
See, you are brave.
Let's just see.
How's that going?
Well, I moved to Portland and I divorced, and so I thought, you know, again, Seventh Son, San Francisco, 2010, 20 teens, you know, you had that big tech boom and it was grind culture. Rise and grind, motherfucker. Rise and grind, you know, multitasking, you know?
Yeah.
And I was in the nexus of that, right? So I was like, well, fuck it. Let's just see, you know, going for that 10,000 hours, right? Fuck it. Let's just throw in a 6, redline it, and go. Just go. I'm going to be the first one there and the last one. Every time. I'm going to be the hardest working person in the whole world.
Did you click your heels every time you left the shop?
Yeah, I was a little smug, like, that's right. Fuck you. No, not at all. I mean, turns out, everybody knows, right? You get to burnout. But I think that the thing that leads you to burnout perhaps is more connected to ego than curiosity. You know, curiosity and looking for inspiration and feeding the whole. I think of feeding the beast, you know, that thing that you hear when you wake up in the morning, the sucking sound somewhere over here of like the images and the inspiration that you need so desperately to keep on going is not connected to the thing that leads to burnout. And I don't know how else to explain that for me, burnout is connected much more to ego, to an external value than an internal value. If you look internally and you look internally for what do I want to see and how do I want to say that, burnout is avoided in a way because there's that automatic connection to that reflexive moment where you sit and stare at a wall, you know, and problem solve, or you're looking for inspiration and you're feeding that inspiration voice. And again, that is maybe not relating to tattooing. So you're going to, for me, I go to gardens. I go to art galleries, you know, I talk to people who are outside of tattooing, you know, you feed that voice sometimes not directly through tattooing. So for me, burnout is different than that. So art school is not burning out. Art school is something else. Bike racing is something else, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think
like tattooing is one thing. Art school and art is a different thing. It's a different type of, you might be burning the candle at both ends, but it is different, right? Mm-hmm. Like I've been painting a lot recently because just a few things that Tim Bedron said on the podcast with us. So I'm just like, I'm just going to suck and I'm going to paint a bunch. And I've just been painting a whole fucking bunch. And it's not, I'm not, I'm more excited to actually tattoo, right? I have more energy to tattoo.
Yes.
Sometimes I come home after tattooing and I'm like, I don't feel like painting right now, but I've been getting up early in the morning and I'm like, I'm going to paint for an hour and then I'll go and tattoo all day. Right. So I get that. It's not, it's the internal external thing, right? Like I find it like tattooing can burn me out, you know, because I start focusing on like, this is what I have to do.
Right.
I have to do this today.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. With painting, I'm just kind of like, or thinking about art and doing art. Recently, I've been finding it it's been really freeing me of that other stuff where it's like, oh my God, I have to fucking tattoo today at noon. It's 10 a.m. I'm going to paint for an hour. And I paint for an hour.
It feels rewarding.
And then I go to the shop and I just, it's been really great. I honestly wish I would have met Tim Bedron fucking 20 fucking years ago. Because it was literally one sentence the guy fucking said. And I was just like, click, and everything changed. 33 years into tattooing, and he comes along and just fixes my broken bullshit.
That's amazing, isn't it? When
it is.
When you meet those people that you've heard, they say something, you're like, God damn it, I've heard that 6 times before, but for this one reason, it just clicked.
It just clicked.
And I think that's part of also why I seek out so many different people, is that I'm always looking for that thing, the thing that, solves a problem and you didn't know it was a problem, and it frees you
absolutely.
to let go of something, or, to become better, or, not to put a value on it, but to shift, to change, to loosen up, to break free of a habit, to keep loose. It's really important. Yeah.
So you said early on in the beginning of this that you worked at a lot of shops.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, because you've put years into these shops. But it doesn't sound like you've done a lot of conventions or guest spots. Is that true?
Well, I mean, I was, again, lucky enough to live in San Francisco, so I do the San Francisco convention every year. And when we were at Seventh Son, every year that shop would explode with guest artists. And I did San Diego, I did Seattle, I did New York, I did the San Francisco convention everywhere, or the San Jose convention now, every year that I was there. Unfortunately, I did the Austin convention a bunch. I love that convention. I don't do good work at conventions.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Yeah.
I get intimidated. I kind of shut down. I get very scattered. I do the same thing at like tattooer gatherings, like the big art show where you show up. I get so scrambled. I get so unfocused. And then of course
drugs.
Yes. And on top of that, I'm going around and looking at everybody's work and just being like, oh boy, fuck.
Yeah.
I got a lot of work to do when I go home. Inspired, but also like, so for me, conventions are a very double-edged sword. I really love them. I mean, who doesn't, right? You get to bullshit and meet up and drink and have bad behavior for 3 days and learn and be inspired. At the same time, you got to sit on that fucking convention floor. Oh, I've done Boston a couple times, but if there's, God forbid, a live band playing, I've done conventions with like live burlesque acts, and
the fucking worst. Let's be honest.
Like the live
the
music.
Worst.
Oh my God, you have this DJ who's like, hurry, come to this, like every half hour on the hour. And, the lighting sucks and you're sweaty and fucking, you haven't slept right.
The New York Tattoo Convention, they had the Rubbermaids. The famous Rubbermaids. The Acrobat Girl. That was awesome. But it was like, I don't want that convention. It was cool because I got to like out drink them at the bar afterwards. But it was again, going to Montreal and like having a huge, like a band playing in the fucking middle of the day and the
I do like doing them. But I know I don't do my best work there. And I think also, maybe not now, but certainly, in my 20s, 30s, and early 40s, so much of the convention energy, like I would have been one of the only women on the floor. And that was maybe part of it too. It's like, fuck it. Just stay home. I'm not going to do good work. And I do have I'm a bit of a fragile eagle myself. So,
And you know what? Let's be honest. You're in a shop that when a convention is happening, most people are going to be visiting that shop. So really, a lot of that stuff's already be coming to your doorstep.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
why give up that advantage?
Totally. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Why give up that advantage?
Right.
You know?
And when I started figuring it out, oh, you could, in the conventions when I would have really in the 20s, 30s, you didn't have the ability to post, hey, I'm going to be at this convention and book yourself. You would run the risk. Like I did the Detroit or the Green Bay convention way back in the day. And I just sat there for 3 fucking days rolling donuts. And that was brutal. Brutal.
The Green Bay convention was amazing. I went to that convention in '94 before I moved to Vancouver. I did the Green Bay convention. This girl, Dawn, she worked for Marilyn Manson. She wasn't a tattooer. She came to Toronto. I did the
convention in '94 too. Fuck.
Really? Picked me up and took me down. It was me, Scott McEwen, this guy, Mike LeDrew. He was a counter guy at Tattoo-rama. Stuart Archibald. Stuart is a great tattooer now. Wasn't tattooing then. We all ended up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And not even Scott McEwen's tattooing. We're just there to fucking party.
Yep.
That convention was insane. Watching Guy tattoo. Don Ed Hardy was there. I'm like drinking a coffee, watching Don Ed Hardy just like freehand a fucking koi. Not freehand with a pen, freehand with a machine, a fucking koi on a guy's sleeve. And I'm just like, I should maybe get tattooed by him. And he's like, $500 minimum. I'm like, nah, maybe not.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, but I took my dragon book by Ed Hardy with me. He signed it for me. It was like, good luck. It was such a great fucking time. But what a weird small city and convention. You know what I mean? Like just wild.
Yeah.
So
all the guys from Europe would go there. That's where I met Mario Barth and Bugs. Remember Bugs?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say because did you get tattooed by Bugs in San Francisco, or were you just hanging out with Bugs in San Francisco?
Just hanging out with him.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, who else was there? Mario Barth, Ten from Paris.
Like there was, like I remember showing up in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and people's fucking houses were painted green and gold because they own the Green Bay Packers, and I'm like, what is happening right now? Like I don't even. I'm still living in Toronto at this time. I'm like so blown away from this small, seemingly small working town class city, and it's just a fucking part. Like I remember a guy come up to us like comes up to us at the convention. Who?
That's where I met Kim Sai. Was that year?
Oh, I didn't meet Kim
till the first time.
I didn't meet her until San Francisco because Scott was like creeping on her, but and not creeping on her in a bad way, but he was just all girl tattooer. But I mean, we were in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and like we're all just hanging out, and all of a sudden this guy just walks up to us, and it's like me, Scott, and maybe Stuart, and he's just like, "Hey man, house party if you guys want to come," and gives us his address on a piece of paper, and we're like,
"Rad!
You have any idea who we are?" And then Scott's like, "Well, should we come?" And he's like, "I have lots of Vicodin."
Wow.
I'm not even joking. We show up and this dude just is like handing out Vicodin at the door like it's fucking trick or treat time. It's like, that Green Bay, Wisconsin in 1994 was like the wildest fucking thing ever. Like it was crazy.
I mean, again, we could go back to the idea of how we started, just, all the images and how it was and how it is now is so different. So different. Yeah. I mean, people are like, well, how'd you become a tattoo artist? And I'm like, I was unemployable. I was desperate. I figured out very quickly that I could never do an office job. It was instantly revealed to me that I was quite literally unemployable. And the only thing that I could figure out to do was to be a tattoo artist. And now that doesn't apply anymore. You can be a well-adjusted, normal person and be a tattooer. The people who taught me how to tattoo, they're unhinged in the best way. But, Theo Jack, just the Jacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I started. You know?
Yeah. You cannot be a non-alcoholic and be in the Jacks. Like, it's just
Right. Yeah.
the way it is,
I mean,
right? Like,
you know who tells amazing stories for anybody who wants to really get a flavor of kind of this, what we're talking about, is Scott Campbell's Instagram.
Oh,
Scott
fuck yeah.
That guy.
It's incredible.
That guy's fucking gold. He tells good story too, really good story, because he worked at Picture Machine.
okay. Yeah.
And he did a whole run of telling story.
In his car.
Yep.
Yeah, they're fucking amazing.
They're amazing.
Yeah, some of the best tattoo stories of all time. That guy.
Yeah, I mean, and this is what we're talking about. You know, like when I met Eddie Deutsch and, you know, Juan Puente at Tattoo 2, just the culture of that shop is incredible. It's incredible. Yeah. And again, I think what I'm trying to convey is the deep sense of gratitude and almost wonder of what we get to do, what tattooing is at its core is incredible.
I think you hit on something just by saying culture. Like there is a culture in shops and tattooing back then that is completely different. I don't want to say it's better or worse or what it was, because they're different times, but
you guys keep going.
It was, I think there's something within that era of tattooing that was culturally significant, for lack of a better term. You know, especially what was happening in San Francisco. It's just, that was the mecca of so much good tattooing and attracted so many good people. And the heritage and the lineage of a lot of those tattooers is amazing. You know, like to think about it now and how everybody's kind of related in a family tree kind of way. Yeah. To bear witness to that must have been amazing.
Yeah. I mean, you know what I mean when I say, today, this is what I can do for you. I mean, you know that story. You know, that's the old story. Yeah. And the culture of hand-drawn flash, the difference between what 222 did, the idea that all the flash on the wall was hand-drawn, original, by everybody who worked there.
Yeah.
That was a new idea. The new idea that 222 presented of a shop that had granite countertops and had a very deliberate marketing idea behind it. You know, the idea of having a clothing line, the idea of having custom made tattoo machines with your name on it, you know, like Aaron Kane makes.
Yeah.
Or, it's sorry, I lost kind of what we were talking about, but culture.
Yeah. You're just talking about your gratitude for that. I can just bearing witness to it. It's not a lot of people that have that perspective. And I find it equally interesting that there's not a lot of women from that era that have that perspective either. You know, they definitely existed without a doubt, and were killing it. It's just, it's a smaller part of that male dominated industry, which was at that time much more male dominated.
Yeah. I mean, and a word to that too. People seem to think that it's this incredible thing that you were one of the only women in tattooing. And my experience is much like my experience in jiu-jitsu, or my experience in bike racing, or my experience in skateboarding, or my experience, just in life, is that when you are singularly obsessed about something, people see that and they love it, and
Absolutely.
They invite you in.
Yeah.
And they want to give you the hard-earned gifts and lessons that they have, because you have that thing in your eyes that makes you insane.
Yeah.
So when I got into tattooing, yes, I was desperate. So I was very focused, but the gates just opened. And I was the only girl. I was like a unicorn. I was marketed. I mean, I was at shops. People would in the Yellow Pages ad would say, "We have a female tattooer." It's like this unicorn. And then people don't know that.
When you started in Vancouver, the only other female would have been Teresa.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably started before Teresa, or around the exact same time.
I believe there was one other.
But did they
be
count?
2 other tattoo. Oh, wow.
I don't want to be mean.
No. I know what you're saying. They were,
But there was
auxiliary.
Mirabellas.
Right. I mean, I think that it was the wife of the guy who owned North Shore Tattooing, and then there was another lady in Burnaby somewhere, and me, and that was it. And again, I didn't find barriers. I did start to find barriers in San Francisco when I wanted to get into specific kinds of shops. But that was it, and that was very temporary, and I solved that problem by becoming known. And I think
I was going to say, was that a barrier because you're female, or because you were unknown or not up to par yet?
probably a combination of both. Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I think that back in that time, part of it is that you are an unknown quotient in the mix, so that was part of why I came by, and I wanted to make sure too that this was a good environment, that people were good people, and that because that's
100%.
like if you want to know about a shop, you go there.
Yep.
You spend time there. You get to know them.
Yeah.
And it's this very organic, wonderful thing that happens. If you blend, you blend. And more often than not, you do, because people in tattooing generally are very kind. They're good people because they've learned hard lessons the hard way. Yeah. And they know what it is to be desperate. They know what it is to be like hungry, physically hungry. And there's that automatic community, and you just have to be known and be humble.
And I think there's, because we just you hear male dominated, and then it's just like, oh, it was just males and they kept women out. And it's like, well, I think there's the tattoo industry 100% male dominated. But then within that, there's the boys clubs.
Yeah.
And it's the boys clubs that tried to keep the women out. But again, because the boys, but they'll let them in. I'm not saying they wouldn't, but I mean, it's the boys that kind of got together and they made their little groups. And then it's like, if you're cool, male or female, you're allowed in, right?
You're in.
I mean, but as an overall, like a blanket to just be like a male dominated thing, because Sacred Heart was male dominated, but we had gays, we had lesbians, we had a little person, Jordan, we had the first trans person I ever met, Taylor, male to female trans. Like, we were very inclusive, but we were still a very male dominated shop. But we weren't a boys club. But we weren't a boys club, right?
The energy,
the energy was different, right? So like, it's always interesting. The gatekeeping word gets thrown around a lot, and it's like
it's an interesting phenomenon. That
there's a lot of people that are considered gatekeepers, and I'm like, do they really have the keys?
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Do they? Yep. That fucking person's been tattooing like 5 years. Do they have the fucking keys? Right? You know what I mean? And because there was a lot of people would come in, and I remember Bill, like in the 90s, somebody come and ask about tattooing, and Bill would just photocopy Spalding's pages for him, and I'd be like, what the fuck? And he's just like, they're going to get the information no matter what. Yeah. Why not it be us? We're the good guys. And then we also get to practice cover-ups.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think with a lot of things too, there's two sides, right? Like the one side's going to call out gatekeeping, and the other side's going to be like, I didn't trust you or like you or know you or have any interest in taking on somebody. So that's not gatekeeping. That's just a personal decision on.
That's it.
So I
mean, I think of gatekeeping in a way almost. I was watching a documentary about the guy who owned A&M Records, the real famous guy who signed fucking Aretha Franklin, all those guys. I can't remember his name at the moment, but Clive Davis. I was watching a documentary about Clive Davis. Now that's a gatekeeper, but he is also an incredible wealth of knowledge. This is a man who's signed everyone: Janis Joplin, Aretha Franklin, Alicia Keys, Whitney Houston. this is somebody who has an incredible eye for talent and an inherent understanding of what we were talking about, the foundation, the depth, the culture of the shop. So I think that there is gatekeeping, but there's also attenuation, perhaps, of the flow, and being able to cherry pick what you see as a talent that is just simply impossible to deny, and bringing them into that culture. So I think that gatekeeping is, like you said, is very two-sided. There's value, and then it's a fucking tragedy at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, music has no gatekeepers right now. And is that good or is that bad? You know, I mean, I just found out who Colton Walls is. How would I have found something like that? You know, but in the old days of Clive Davis, his name would have been plastered everywhere. You wouldn't have been able to get away from this guy.
Yeah.
So I agree. There's two sides. You know, there's a comedy and tragedy in each reality. You know.
Of course. Yeah, I'm all too aware of that.
It's trying to describe value on anything is a way to shoot yourself in the foot really well.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. If somebody walks through a door and they get treated by somebody and they feel, oh, this person's a gatekeeper, just leave. That person's probably a gatekeeper of zero information.
Yeah, totally.
They're probably gatekeeping only what they actually know, which is very fragile. And that's why they're afraid to share that information.
Yeah.
And if they're not open to sharing, and again, you can't just walk in and ask somebody something and expect an answer. That's not fair. But I mean, like, if you go around, if you get tattooed by somebody, if you try and like make your ways in, and if you feel like they're gatekeeping, they probably actually, it might even, again, come to the fragile eagle. It might just be they can't actually teach. Not everybody can be a good teacher.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I mean, I'm thinking of, sorry to talk over you.
No.
I'm thinking of this young kid who came in one day, and I was tattooing at Braindrop, so closed room, just me, his friend who was my client, and him. And he came in with a notepad and started peppering me with some general questions, which I answered, you know, in that gentle kind of generalist way you do, you know, so what are you doing, why, and, you know, gently talking about it. And then he started getting with more pointed questions. And I said, you know, two things, and I don't mean to be rude, but this is your friend's time. This is her appointment. And my focus is on her tattoo. And I think what you want is information that'll set you up in tattooing. And you're not my apprentice. And I think that there's a level of questioning that you're looking for that is almost inappropriate because you haven't committed to being an apprentice or giving your time to this shop. And he was very insulted. He was really insulted. And he definitely felt I was gatekeeping. And I said, well, I'm actually being very kind to you at this moment. I would recommend going and hanging out with Henry Lewis at Everlasting. And if you want another opinion about what I'm talking about, ask Henry. So he did.
How'd that go?
I'm going to put money on not well.
Yeah.
I've never met Henry, but I'm going to put money on not well.
Right. So he came back and he apologized. And he said, I went in and he had a bad experience. Oh, and I'm not trying to shit talk Henry, and I'm not shit talking Everlasting, to be clear.
No,
not at all.
I mean, you can hear my deviousness myself, my own deviousness, is saying I suggest talk to Henry Lewis. So I'm the asshole for suggesting that. But he came back and he apologized, and he was like, I didn't understand what I was asking. I didn't understand, and I'm very sorry. Would you please be so kind as to help me? And I said, absolutely. Yeah. So again, that's that very sticky wicket of gatekeeping and apprenticing and culture and,
Have you apprenticed anybody?
I have inadvertently apprenticed a few
or
people.
apprenticed or mentored. Okay.
Mentoring. I'm much rather mentoring. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love mentoring apprenticeships. My one formal apprentice who asked me, can I be your apprentice? OD'd. So, uh,
In
that
San
didn't,
Francisco or Portland?
yeah, San Francisco.
I'm not
San
shocked
Francisco.
with
No,
either
yeah,
answer.
either. No. And he was an old dear friend. He was very, of course, very, very sweet person. But
Yeah.
I love mentoring people. I love that because then you get shared information. And nowadays, people who are kind of into tattooing, usually they have gone to art school and usually they have a huge foundation. And they say, oh, can you teach me? I said, no, I won't teach you, but I will share with you because you have stuff that I want. You know stuff that I don't. And if we trade, we'll bring each other up. And that's what I'm really interested in.
Oh, that's
Because
cool.
you always, but everybody knows in a tattoo shop, you always need the 20 or 30-year-old person who's new to the industry in the shop. You always have to have somebody like that because
Yeah.
it feeds the fire, and it's so important.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
to be able to level each other up like that because they are looking at the cutting edge people on Instagram that I can't find.
Yeah.
Because they have new eyes.
Yeah.
And that's the most exciting thing, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's hard being the best in the room, or it's hard to even think you're the best in the room.
Yeah.
I want to shop with younger guys, very specific in styles, and I've always said that I'm very open. Anybody ever comes in and asks if they have a portfolio or art, anything, if they ever want to ask me questions, I've always said like I'm open to that. Nobody ever comes in, right? A lot of kids, they just want a yes to an apprenticeship. So people would ask in emails, this and that, and it's just like, this is my advice, and you never hear from them again.
Yeah.
And then one day I had
that was Theo saying, no, hang up. No. hang up,
exactly.
no,
Yeah,
hang up."
exactly.
And that's what that was.
And then
You have
one
to
day
stay.
I've had people come in and then look, I get the guys that are tattooing, 5 years, 10 years, look at their stuff or whatever. And then one day I come in, 3 people in a row came into my shop with portfolios. First person, their mom told them they could be anything in life way too many times. Not a bad thing, but they were not going to contribute to themselves or to anything. The second guy, the next guy that came in, literally like 20 minutes later, his stuff was great. Very best of time, Stizzo, fine line, traditional. I was like, this is awesome. I'm like, this is great. I'm like, but there's a lot of traditional tattooers in this city. Edmonton's very known for, traditional style tattooing. As a shop owner, I need to know that you can just make me money. Can you do an infinity symbol? Can you do these basic things? And I was talking about this stuff, and I knew that's not what he wanted to hear. And I was like, hey, man, maybe try some of this stuff and come back. Never came back. The third girl that came in that same day, she came in, talked to me. She had messaged me, DM'd the shop a couple times, and she showed up with a portfolio, showed me a whole bunch of shit. And I said the exact same thing to her as everybody else. This is not great. You could do this, you could do that. I have a lot of books here that are not my guarded personal collection. If you ever want to come and just draw or paint here, I'm like, Greg, my one tattooer, Greg, paints every day. Like he paints at least one small flash piece a day. I'm like, just come and draw and hang out if you want, whatever. Don't say anything. And she works at an art store. Nobody came back. She came back. Not only did she come back, she has been back for the last 6 fucking months, every day off. Saturday and Sunday, she shows up when we open. She's there till we close. And then 2 weeks ago, I was like, I want you to draw 40 strawberries and paint them. Paint 40 strawberries in flash format or whatever you come up with. I was thinking she's going to take like 2 months. I'm like, there's no timeline. Just do this, whatever. She fucking painted
In a week.
9 11 by 14 flash sheets, fully rendered.
Amazing.
40 different, like 30 very good ideas, 10, 20 very well painted, 20 kind of brushed. But I was like, damn. So I went over them with her and was like, fix these. Like, this is what you kind of need to do. I was showing her like some different people's work. You know, I'm not a big American traditional guy. Showing her some different people's work. I'm like, this is where I think you need to add a bit more black or this and that. Do that. And I'm like, and if you want to do this, you can have an apprenticeship in the new year. And she was just like, okay. She came in every week. How can you not want to give this person everything? It's
that
just like
makes you, just hearing that makes you happy.
But not even that. I'm like, not just because of Tim, but because of her. Like, not only am I painting all the time, but like my one guy that's been tattooing for well under a year. He's like, it took him a week to do a flash sheet when she did 9. He did 2 in one day after she did that. You know what I mean? Like, great. Wes, like my other guys are like looking at what she's doing. And they're, you know what I mean? Like pushing. Like we haven't had that push for a while. I haven't had that push for quite some time, especially when we started tattooing, or we were only tattooing in the shop and doing art at home. You know, I worked with Lucas and I worked with a lot of great tattooers, Jesse Beans, Lee Brook, all these people, but we were drawing at home and then tattooing during the day. Not like Sacred Heart, where we were, you know, like you guys had at Seventh Son, for sure, where you guys were sitting down and like figuring shit out. I haven't had that in a long time. And this young girl, you know, she hasn't brought like she's brought that drive though, where it's like, oh yeah, I need to fucking do this. Like
desperation.
I'm still young in tattooing. I still have energy in tattooing. Like I need to fucking get on this because I can't be shown up by this fucking kid. Like, come on. I already told everybody, like, she's going to start, I'll start her apprenticeship in the new year, but when she starts tattooing, if she brings that same drive to tattooing, she'll take all our money. My shop is not a private studio. It's a street shop. She'll take all the tattooing. She'll take it all. She's hungry. And not only that, she can draw and produce quick, fast. She'll be able to deal with people because she comes from a retail background. She has so much that she will be able to just take everybody that gets a little lazy, just be like sniping them. And I'm stoked. I'm so excited. Like, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
It's rad.
Yeah.
It's
rad. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. This shit is, that's the most important thing.
Yeah. When you got into Seventh Son, I'm guessing you had finished your art schooling stuff because you were doing that more when you're hanging at Everlast, and you started at Seventh Son. You really started focusing on in your work, Botanicals.
Yes. Yeah.
Is like, for everybody, we have an artistic drive. Has that always been kind of your artistic drive? Just that way, like the botanical illustration realism, but for tattooing?
It was actually came, I think, the real focus and the real decision. I mean, I like doing flowers mostly because they seem to come the easiest to me. It's something that I could just see. You Japanese stuff. I mean, the tiger. Fuck, a dragon. Oh, fuck, what? Japanese water.
That's how I feel about flowers, though.
Yeah. It flowed, and then also the environment of Seventh Son then was deliberately curated so that everybody who worked there was extremely good at the thing that they did. So Croce, biomech, right? And you had like Matt House, old school, and you had these people who excelled at one thing, and they really focused on honing that blade, So I was encouraged directly by Luke. He said, we want you to be happy here. So why don't you do something that makes you happy? And I thought, well,
sounds like a dick.
Yeah. So I thought, well, let's start with something that doesn't make me want to fucking cry every time I try and draw it. And that was flowers. you know, and I had a couple books that lit a real fire under my butt. And I said, let's just do this. And of course, nobody else was doing it there. That was a window that I could look out of, and nobody else was attending to. So I use that metaphor window very deliberately, because I think that there's windows of opportunity. There's windows of opportunity that are very, very small. Say like being the best 3-point shooter in the NBA, that window is very, very small to be the best at that. But if you look out of a window that nobody is attending to, then that window of opportunity is very big.
It's fucking huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? And you get to be the best at it, and seemingly without effort. So I kind of thought, well, what is nobody else doing? What flows with me? And let's do that, you know? And yeah, I'd farted around with it before, like specifically, but really looking for that style. I was starting to want to do this thing that I felt like nobody else was doing. And it was that thing where I describe it as leggy, where your arrangement or your composition looks leggy, where there's a lot of air. And I really like that thing in Ikebana flower arrangement that is balance and air, lightness and weight. It's grounded. It has all the components. And I started looking a lot at that stuff.
Cool.
And I thought, this is exciting. This is really exciting. It goes back to something that Theo said about Philip Liu's work. If you look at the Philip Liu work, especially the stuff that he was looking at probably in the 90s, Philip Liu back pieces by necessity, because he was working with so many people who would travel. Theo said that Philip Liu's stuff is something, a whole lot of nothing, something, and a whole lot of nothing, you know? So you have top left, you have the thing that draws your eye. Then it follows, which is the nothing, right? So air, water, whatever, to something highly detailed, and then nothing to something. So your composition pulls your eyes. And I've been having that idea tick over in my head, how to tattoo quickly, how to make money, how to cover space effectively, but also have a high quality image that reads extremely well. And you can showcase some really beautiful high detail, but not eat up a lot of money and a lot of time and cover a lot of ground. And I thought, well, with these floral arrangements, that's how you can kind of address all that, you know, in kind of one shot. And I deliberately started really focusing on that.
Yeah.
And of course, being very supported while I did that, you know, not working at a shop. Yeah. Not working at a shop where if you let something walk away, you were fired, you know?
Yeah.
Like you worked at the shop where you could be like, I'm not the person for that. That guy is. That guy sitting right there in this room.
Yeah.
Right? So that was a big component of that culture as well, is that we leveled each other up very, very deliberately. You don't want me to do that. You want whoever to do that. This is their stuff. This is their portfolio. And you would upsell your friend at the shop.
Yeah. Like I did at Sacred Heart. It was like, you want this? Steve Moore. Oh, you want more? The traditional guy at the time was Woodley. So Chad Woodley was like, you want him to, right? Yeah. It's like, that's such a,
and you look after each other.
That was an art of tattooing also.
Absolutely. I think. Keeping it in the shop.
Lost.
Salesmanship.
It's like, now it's like, if somebody can't, it's like, you know, if for instance, you know, I'm a young tattooer, I can't do that tattoo technically. I can't actually physically pull that off. Instead of like saying, hey, you should see this guy, it's like, that doesn't make a good tattoo. That's what I see more now, right? It's like, that's not a good idea. That's 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag.
That's an old school thing though, no? Like when we started, there was a lot of that. And I always used to
100%.
say, I would tell clients, you know, listen to what a tattooer says, because when they say that's not a good idea, or what they're telling you is that I can't tattoo that, and listen to them.
Yeah.
You know,
I tell my guys all that time. It's like, if you can't do it, don't just say that. Don't tell your fucking client it's not a good idea or it's not this. Just recommend them to somewhere else.
And or just say, I can't do that. This is how I would do it. This isn't the only way to do it. And if you don't like this idea,
Yeah, exactly.
then there are so many tattooers who
Yeah.
are so good at it. Like, and
there's like, if you can create a small, 100%, and you can create a small little group of people in a city where it's like, you know what, this guy does this really well. Go to him. If you send him enough clients, he'll start sending you clients.
Yeah,
because he's also, if it's a black and gray realism guy, he's not doing anything with black and gray realism. So he's just telling people no. But you know what? This shop has sent me 6 fucking people. I'm okay. Go here. Start going here. And all my guys are like, oh. I'm like, yeah, it works, right? Like we have other shops recommending us because we will recommend very specific artists, right? Yeah,
you create organically. That's what that's what part of what I miss in San Francisco. There's a little bit of it here in Portland, and I definitely really encourage everybody to start doing this if they can, if they work in a shop where this is allowed, is to do that, to keep a list of shops that you would recommend, a list of artists. Go into the main room and say, hey, does anybody know somebody in the city with the client there? Like, does anybody know somebody who does this? And you help them and you recommend them, and you wind up creating this wonderful community just organically of looking out for one another.
It might not come back right away, but it comes back over time.
Yeah,
it does.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Specifically, if you're like, you know what? I don't care if this person's, I'm going to send this person something. Like, I would never expect somebody to then like message me, IG or email, be like, hey, thanks.
No,
right?
No,
but I think some younger people might, where it's like, don't expect that because they might think it's a one-off. Or the person that went to see them might not even told them that you sent them.
Yeah.
Totally.
If that person does that shit the best, you just keep sending people to that person.
Right. Well, the secret to that is it
will eventually figure it out, and you will get it back, and you will create that, right?
Yeah, and I think also the clients appreciate that because they make a mental note. Oh, this person is transparent. They're honest.
100%.
Yep.
And it's you're not losing. You're gaining.
Because that client will be like, oh, their friend, they'll be out one night. Oh, who did your tattoo? Oh, I went to go and see so-and-so, but it was kind of out of their realm. So they sent me to this guy that was really good. But for what you want, I think that guy might actually be good for it, or that girl be good for it. It really does. Like,
And again, we're talking a little bit about gatekeeping and a different aspect of it, that you are deliberately creating a community of people who, that you are like-minded, if you will, but also spreading it out and having that loose grip on what it is that you think you have.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. This stuff's really important.
All right. 2017. You left Seventh Son and you went to Portland.
Well, also,
why? Did you really like that Portlandia show?
Oh, you just said so much. Part of that as well was I was burnt out. Imagine that. Put it into 6th gear and see what happens. San Francisco, of course, I had started going and visiting there and fell in love with it in '86, right? Go and watch 48 Hours. That's the San Francisco I fell in love with, yeah? Very different. I moved to San Francisco because it was a city where people lived, and they needed to move there because it was the only city that they could be, not do, but be, right? They lived there. They didn't work there. They didn't move there to get Google on their resume. The culture had shifted, no?
Yeah.
I mean, we see this in Vancouver. We see this in
Toronto.
Toronto.
I was just saying, Vancouver.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, my hometown when I left was very podunk. It was about the size of what Portland is now. It was, primary resource city. It was logging, fishing, Can Fish Go, right? At Mill and Bodell. So
Yeah.
So
My roommate worked at McMillan Blondell. So
there you
I
go. Everybody
Yeah.
was like a tree planter or a bike messenger.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in 2017, I was burnt out. I was working too much for too long. My hair had stopped growing. And I'd met somebody new who had a vague idea of what quality of life was like, much, much more than I did. My deranged tattoo idea of what life is. And he basically saw the writing on the wall. And he said, we got to get out of here. We got to get out of here. You know, what are you doing? What are you doing and why? What's your goal? Why are you here? You know, and also made me realize that what I was in love with in San Francisco, I liken it to when you watch a young child grow. You have snapshots of them, yeah? So you see them when they're 5, when they're 3, when they're 12, when they're 16. And as you view them as they age, it's layers of transparencies that you're looking at. You don't really see who they are today. You see layers of who they are. Yeah. And I was seeing San Francisco through that lens. Oh, on that corner used to be a gas station, and it used to be a Thai restaurant, and now it's an apartment building that's filled with techies, which, you know, not throwing shade on techies writ large. The culture had shifted, right? The gay culture had shifted. All the things that brought me to the city had shifted. And rent was impossible. And housing was impossible. And a cocktail was $20. And, you know, I mean, people would say, you know, oh, you found a place to live. Not, oh, do you like it? But, oh, that's amazing. You found a place to live.
Yeah.
You found something. And it was, you didn't ask how much it was because you knew it was expensive, you know, like the 500 square foot apartment that I lived in, when I left, the rent got raised on that apartment to $4,000. And that was in 2017. That's insane. That's insane. It was not sustainable. How are you 65 in that? What does that look like? A 65-year-old tattoo artist in San Francisco, you know, rent control or not. So if I had been single, it'd be very different. But I met somebody, fell in love, and was like, okay, quality of life. What's quality of life? What's balance? How do I breathe again? What am I doing? Why am I doing this? To what end? And I lifted my gaze and I was like, where am I going? What does retirement look like? The fuck is that? You know, like, what is quality of life? All I've been doing is defining myself through work, you know, which again is attachment to ego, is like an external trip.
Yeah.
A human doing, not a human being. And started having that dialogue. I wanted time. This is a marathon, not a sprint. It's a fucking marathon. What am I doing? I want time. I want time with this man. I want time to know. I want to experience what it is to be in love. You know, a divorce will do that to you. Yeah. It makes you
going through one.
Yeah. You ask. Why?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
You know,
I've never been happier in my life. At this moment right now, I can tell you that I've never been mentally or physically happier in my entire life because of what I found after what I was in. So
yeah. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
You know, it is transformative, important, beautiful, etc., tragic, all that. So my choices of where we were going to move, to clarify, Portlandia, my choices were Austin, New Orleans, or San Diego. And I mean, San Diego, right? Tattoo town.
I'm glad the woman got what she wants.
So San Diego, you know, that's an obvious one, tattooer town. New Orleans, fucking New Orleans. I love that city. Love it. Love the culture there. And Austin, and my guy said, you know, Austin's in Texas, and he had never been there. And I said, well, Austin is in Texas, but again, he'd never been there. It was on the Eastern Seaboard. My guy is from New Jersey, so he was like, fuck it, I don't want to live on the Eastern Seaboard again. And then he said, New Orleans, it has the unfortunate thing of raining on the inside of your house once in a while. So, no?
Yeah.
Fair point. Fair point. And San Diego was in California, and he wanted out of California. And, you know, a little more space, a little more quality of living. And I knew a bunch of people, of course, who had moved to Portland. I know a bunch of people. And again, very fortunate that Jason Kundell had opened a shop, AWR, up here in Portland. He's one of the original three.
Never heard of it.
Son. I never heard of him. And again, like really fortunate to be able to essentially make a phone call and say, "Hey, can you help me out?" And he was like, "Yeah, fucking yeah." And he's like, "And on top of it, I understand what you got to do." And I was like, "Oh, fucking come on." He's like, "Travel as much as you want. I know you need to go back and forth." And I was like, "Just how could you not say thank you?" And he's like, "Can you be here now?" I was like, "Sure." Yeah.
You can travel wherever you want, but you have to start tomorrow.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Yeah. I worked there for a year, and then I got offered the job again at Wonderland because they were expanding, and another table opened up, and I got a phone call there. And Wonderland is just, I feel like many of the shops, to be clear, like many of the shops that I've been invited to work at is fantastic for who and what I want to do and what I want to be right now. I just feel like it's such a gift. Amazing. Yeah. Talk about awesome. Just, you know, God pissing in my cup. The shop that does what I want to do. All of them.
Amazing.
Yeah. To have those conversations like daily, you know, just to geek out on like, how do you do the center of peony? You know, just little things like that. You get like the finest examples of that. And to, when I left Seventh Son, Jeff said, "That's so awesome. That's so awesome for you. I'm so stoked. You are amongst people who speak the same language."
Cool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
we all know what that feels like.
Yeah. I'm going to love asking this next question because, you know, we've had a lot of great tattooers, great people on this, and, you know, people get to
this question.
Yes, people get influenced or they get to, but like a lot of people haven't got the chance to work with top fives. A lot of people like try and reach that epicenter of tattooing and stuff, but you've worked alongside some incredibly talented people. And now the question is, who are your top five?
Well, Grimy for me. Grimy is definitely one of the top five. Chris Kahn is a huge.
That guy is always in my top. My top five, I would say, changes, but my top three never. And Chris Kahn is top three for sure.
I was very fortunate to see the famous carpenter Steve Moore sleeve before I left Vancouver.
Oh yes, God, that's my favorite sleeve.
That always haunts me. The fucking wood chips.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, man. I love that sleeve. I love being able to like walk back and just drink my coffee, watch him work on that, and have that memory, you know?
Fuck. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, of course, Marcus Pacheco was a seminal moment when I looked at his shit and I was like, holy fuck, I want to do that. I can tattoo. That's where I want to go. I want to fucking tattoo that. I don't know if you ever got to see it, but Marcus Pacheco did a sleeve. It's called a Shaman, his Shaman sleeve.
I don't know. If I saw a picture, I might remember it.
You know, I think Philip Liu, for sure.
That's five.
Yeah. Those are some...
I have to remind people because they usually
no, even I lost count because I was mesmerized, and then I started thinking about Marcus's sleeve that you were talking about, and I'm like, oh yeah, because Stuart Archibald, who I mentioned way earlier, he actually has like a 3/4 sleeve down. He has that really famous one where it's the apple in the ditch with the fetus in the apple, and stuff. That's his sleeve. And I remember seeing that and him telling me it was like 8 hours, and I was just like, What
the fuck?
Like, okay, I need to be not just better, but I need to be faster. But So that was like the easiest five ever. It's just like,
I know, it was so quick. And what a 5. That's impressive 5.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
it is the 5, you know? I mean, that's the creme de la creme. I mean,
yeah.
and again, there's Ed Hardy,
No, no, no,
Jeff
no.
Whitehead. Stop.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
but these are all
fun.
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Jeff
yeah.
Whitehead for
No.
Palette.
Like now we can just focus on all the people you never named because they suck.
Yeah,
Right,
totally.
Like,
They don't
like
measure
your
up.
your former
But yeah.
coworkers like Jeff just
Yeah. Whatever. I know. Gordon.
yeah, yeah.
Jeff.
Never heard of her.
Yeah. I mean, and then Instagram. Fucking A. There's a whole
Oh.
roster of people who I slavishly check over and
Yeah.
over and over
Yeah.
and over.
You know whose work yours reminds me of? And I don't even remember the name of the artist, but it's actually not a tattooer. Your work makes me think of that bird painter, Lansdowne.
Oh, Lansdowne, yeah.
Ah, Lansdowne.
That's who-
Yeah.
Like
Huh.
like Dave gave me actually some of his books.
Mm-hmm.
And when I
Lansdowne.
think of when I look at your work, I can't think of another tattooer.
Huh.
I think of his work, and it's not flowers. It's I don't know why. I don't know if it's just the thoughtfulness of the drawing itself, the way it's painted or portrayed. I'm not really sure because I haven't really thought about exactly why, but that's what I think of when I think of it. And I just wanted to say that.
Huh. That's really cool. Yeah. This guy?
Nope.
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
I'll find it.
I was gonna say, do you remember his first name, Dave?
No. And the books were by 2 people, Lansdowne and somebody else. One guy wrote the books, Lansdowne, Birds of the West Coast. His stuff was,
yeah. Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about.
he did
Yeah,
a whole
it's kind
series of
like-
books, The Northern
like
Forest.
like Autobahn, but
Yeah.
Autobahn adjacent.
Yeah. But better
Yeah.
illustrations than Audubon. Like better, I would say better compositions and better renderings.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
this is not anything like your work in the
Right,
sense
but
of like
just
flowers
who
and
it
stuff.
reminds you of.
But like, I know you're not going to see that.
Yep.
But it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
that thoughtfulness of the composition specifically.
Yeah,
Where, like,
it's
yeah.
a real botanical style.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. My
That's
ceiling.
no worries. That's when I see
Yeah.
a lot of people, especially now, a lot of people do florals, and it's just layered. I think it's just I'm not saying it's all bad composition and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but I think yours really shows more of that really thoughtful, artistic centricity to the flowers itself, rather than it just being flowers. You know what I mean? I'm guilty if I'm going to draw flowers. It's just flowers, and it's just there. You know what I mean? So it's very cool, very awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I look at a lot of, the big secret reveal. I look at a lot of florists stuff. So like my Google feed, I really love Korean floral arrangement. I don't know what it is about that tradition, but there's something about the aesthetic that's
Cool.
what I really dig into, that and Ikebana stuff.
Yes, you mentioned earlier. So people that want to do flower stuff, don't look at Cecilia's tattoos. Look at Ikebana.
Yeah.
Never,
right.
never copy, because it's becomes a simulacrum, right? It's like you start off with a strawberry, then it's strawberry jam, strawberry bubblegum, strawberry candles, strawberry scent, and it's no longer a strawberry; it's something else. So
I like that.
The simulacrum of the tattoo, no, and you lose your voice.
Yes.
The thing to find your voice, the thing that is so important that you can add to the library of tattooing, which of course is what all I want to do. If I could just I'm quoting Chris Kahn. The goal is to just add a little volume to the encyclopedia that is tattooing, a line, a leaf, anything, that's the goal. And that is, you have to have your own voice to do that, to look out your window, your important window. Yeah. Yeah. And that's your gift. That's so important.
That's the mic drop statement right there. You know, like that's the best advice to leave tattooers with, right? Like,
yeah.
absolutely.
I wanted to say too, I think that the new tattooing, how we were saying, they're the new language of the, like, the limited line work of like new tattooing or micro tats or, Chipotle bag tattooing, how it's so, how people disregard it or dismiss it. I was listening to the podcast Books Open or Books Closed by Eric.
And Andrew. Or sorry, Andrew Storts. Yeah. His stuff's great. I was just making fun of him earlier.
Yeah. He was interviewing somebody, can't remember. But no, it was the guy who does the really fucked up tattoos. It's like, oh God damn it. Can't remember his handle. They're really fucked up. Like, I think he's Parisian French or he's from Montreal. And
Noon?
Can't remember, but they're like, he'll have like blowouts and like hung needles and like just art brute almost. It's like outsider art.
I don't know if that's Noon, but Noon is similar in the sense of like, it's so fucking simple, but at the same time, not. So if somebody else was trying to copy it without understanding it, they like Noon would do like, a kind of like a ticked line up a back with something landing on the arm. And it made perfect fucking sense.
Yeah, but this guy's stuff, he draws all the tattoos that he's going to do for that year in one day. And they look like left-handed drawings, and they're very, very deliberate, and almost like technically they're very, very flawed.
Yeah.
Deliberately. And he does that deliberately because he felt like, in his words, that tattooing has become bourgeois. And I was like,
I think he's from Montreal.
I do bourgeois tattoos. I do tattoos that your grandma would love. I do tattoos that would look good on a tea towel.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But it's such an interesting conversation because they were critiquing this guy and saying, oh, it's bullshit. And I thought, wait a minute. In architecture, there was a movement called brutalism, and it was concrete brutalism, which was hated in the 70s.
Shit's great.
Now
it's awesome.
It is incredible. And they're being lost because it was so devalued because it was just concrete. But there is genius in that. And retrospectively, now they're having to go back and save these iconic pieces of art brut or brutalist architecture. So you never know, right? You never know what is old. And the conversation around new tattooing and how people could disregard it, you don't know. You don't know if it's outsider art. It could be the next art brute. Pay attention, no?
Yeah.
There's newness in that. There's inspiration in that. And there's language.
It's still going to have
so
composition.
Important.
Yeah, it's still going to have all that. It's going to have composition. And I think sometimes as a non-artist, you might not see that, right? Where it's like that Noon, when I first saw Noon, I'm pretty sure Noon is from France, who I was talking about. And I remember seeing his stuff and so many people were like, that's so fucking stupid. It looks like kid drawings. And I was like, try and replicate that. You can't. That's fucking like Lucas Ford, who I worked with, did a similar sleeve and had to do it all freehand. And Lucas was like, this is so hard because I have to draw kind of bad, but not bad because it has to be precise. And I'm like, yeah, dude, because there's a
clarity. There's a clarity of language. It's from the gut.
It's 100%. There's so much of that new kind of like, I don't want to say the brutal black, but like the really abstracty black tribally stuff. Like the black metal style writing, but that's like sleeves and necks and all that stuff. Yes. There's so much of that shit. I fucking love it.
Yes.
Like when that stuff is done well, man.
It's so new. It's so exciting.
Because the black is just as important as what they don't tattoo, which was a big thing in the 90s with Bill. Bill was very much like, let your tattoos breathe, right? So when I see this stuff and I'm like, a lot of the times I'm looking at the skin that's not tattooed.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my God, if I tried that, I would have overdone it. I would have overdone it, ruined it. It's so fucking good. And I get so excited when I see that shit, and other people are like, whatever. It's not a fucking can kicking a heart down the road with fucking true
Right.
love, giving a finger. Like, I don't know.
Right. I mean, you can give language, you could put art school language around it. I mean, they are following rules, 50-50, 70-30, 30-70.
Yeah.
They're following all of it. But
Yeah.
it's the discussion that Picasso had about his own art. Yes, he was very accomplished, but he chose not to be. He chose to forget in order to forget.
Yeah.
In order to reach that point of purity, you have to forget everything that you know. You learn it all, and then you forget it all. And I think that again goes back to the idea of the pursuit of your voice, how to not be burnt out, how to be inspired, how to keep the newness, curiosity.
It's no different, right? There's so much bad Japanese. There's so much bad floral. There's so much bad American traditional. And then when somebody sees this blackwork stuff, it's like, is that bad, or are you just seeing a bad artist interpretation of what's good, right? Because there's so many fucking tattooers now.
Yes.
Right? It's like,
it's amazing.
There's always been a ratio of okay, good to excellent. It's just such big numbers now, right? So, man, I get so excited now, like doing this podcast and being more engaged. I get so excited now with some stuff.
This is
now.
like a convention. This is a convention conversation we're having.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And the shit that I get to see, it's great. And it was great to see you.
Yeah.
It's been so long.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I mean,
of course.
Still
my pleasure.
Sweaty and nervous.
Good.
But
same as us.
This is really good shit. I feel very, very fortunate.
Yeah, this was awesome to catch up. Thank you so much, Cecelia. I would love to actually do this again.
Yeah, I would love that. Because there's so much to talk about.
100%.
Always is.
Yeah.
Endless. Yeah. What a joy. Yeah.
All right, guys. It's been great.
Yeah.
Dave's done. He gets up really, really, really early. So he's really, really, really tired.
Yeah, I beat myself up today too, so I'm exceptionally tired.
Congratulations.
Awesome.
It's a good feeling.
It's the best.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
It was great getting to know Curly and this amazing guy that tattooed with one arm. The customer had to stretch his own skin.
So I did get blood poisoning from him twice. Yeah, twice.
Ed Hardy brought this whole Japanese influence into American tattooing.
Once Dave Shore come onto the scene, it was like tattooing completely changed.
If anybody could say anything about greaseball Japanese, it's fucking Dave Shore.
Salty, piratey, bikery, just hard not to do.
Man, he'd pull in on his chopper with the tattoos and the girls, and I mean, he was just like so cool, man.
He captured vulgarity and pleasure and insanity and recklessness.
Tattooer in the 80s or 70s, just not the same, you had to be a tough guy.
I was scared shitless. Even though I was kind of a biker guy, these were bigger biker guys,
I'm not totally sure you could paint the picture accurately to somebody now getting into tattooing about what it was like then. And the only reason I would say or I feel that way, though, is because they might not believe you.
We had the limo waiting for him with all the lines of blow lined up at the airport. This is the way we do it in Canada.
In the 80s, 90s, Paul Jeffries was like the king of tattooing. It wasn't just in Canada.
Like, am I supposed to stop tattooing? Because if this is what I'm supposed to aspire to, it's not gonna happen.
Each one of these old masters influenced groups of tattooers, who in turn influenced other groups of tattooers.
The True North Strong Tattoo Book. This is a massive tattoo encyclopedia of Canadian tattooers. 350 pages. It's an 11 by 17 coffee table format. Shawn and Dan worked tirelessly to get this thing out, and sadly it never made it to print, so it's available for free download.
at theholdfastsocialclub.com and championtattoo.ca.